Yeah.
Meow, meow.
Wait, are we about to start? Did we start already?
Hello, welcome everyone.
Oh, fuck. I can't even tell. I'm getting an ad right now. I don't know.
How you doing?
Oh,
Laughing because we're live.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, you go ahead and do the super awesome intro. I'm gonna piss really, really hard.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Enjoy yourself.
Good fucking Lord.
Hello, everyone.
Lord Zach, thank you. Lord Zach, did you just give out a gift sub 9 minutes ago to Goblin Penetrator? And not like penetrator, like penetrates. Penetrator. Like the spelled traitor, like somebody that betrays. And now I'm concerned.
Let's see, we have a gift sub, a resub, some biddies. Nice. That is great. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all. Excuse me, as I try not to hiccup. I put food in me, and now the food is like, hey, I'm having problems with your body, and so if I make any weird noises, it's just because my digestion is currently attempting to rein control of my body away from me. But hello, welcome. It is good to see you all. Happy to be back. We are here, and we are ready to do goblin things. It is a good time. I'm happy to see you all. Thank you for joining us. A little reminder, we have this thing called the Goblin Bullshit Pool. So it's in the bottom right corner. If we hit 250 total points in there, we will hit another goal in our Goblin Bullshit Pool Goes Up goal. And I don't think we actually settled on what it was going to be, but I tell you what, something will happen. If it does, that's for sure. But every 50 points we reach to a mark in the bullshit pool, we will do a thing. What that thing is, I'm not entirely sure. There's a pizza party at some point, but otherwise we'll just come up with goofy
250 pizza party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we hit one of them and you had to come up with the thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's been so long at this point. So if anybody else can remember in chat, let me know. But otherwise, I'm afraid I do not recall. But it's good to see you all here today. Here is the exclamation mark goblins. Also, I would love to do the pizza party for the goblins at 250, but all we'd be able to afford at 250 at this stage is an in-game pizza party.
500.
Yeah, so at 500 we could afford a pizza party for all the goblins where we all actually eat pizza, but the
being
250.
sick for so long has not been a good time for me.
No, it has not. So, just a reminder to all of you kind folks, we do the hoodoo.
We hoodoo
the doo-doo.
Silver said that
remind me of the babe.
Hoodoo you voodoo. So yes, the money goes into the pool and magical goblin bullshit comes out of it. There you go, easy exchange. If you feel like supporting this project and helping us be able to pay bills related to running it and also help it get things, because we don't really have a budget anymore for much in the way of artistic contributions to it, so I'm afraid until we get some more support, there won't be a lot. There's going to be a lot of theater of the mind, but what we do have right now is fucking amazing, and I love it very much. So, hope you guys are all having an absolutely wonderful night. And a little reminder: if you like the people that do this, please give it some follows, and it'd be really
Elmer
nice.
Fudd, stop.
No.
Oh.
What was that?
What was that?
What was that wet?
What was that wet noise?
Are you in the fucking tub right now? What's going on?
Who's wetting all over the place?
What the fuck was that?
Jazz?
Jasmine? Yeah, I was pouring water.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
He's out here in the
Damn,
fucking soaking with goblins.
I mean, wouldn't be the first
Never
session
say
we did that.
Don't feed with goblins
250
ever
is
again.
actually goblin bathwater, confirmed.
Confirmed. Also, the goblin bathwater. Done.
Hell yeah.
Of course, of course.
But with all that said and done, thank you all very much for being here. We really do appreciate you tuning in for the Goblin Shenanigans, and I hope everyone is having an absolutely wonderful night. So, Goblins, are you guys ready to go to school?
You know?
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Don't need school, already smart. Snooty want learn how to read, so then Snooty can write more music.
Yeah. I probably know everything anyway.
I'm kind of a troublemaker, might be.
But it's fine. We do good. We do good. We'll beat the fuck out of all the children. I mean, we are good noodles.
Good.
Let's see how
Good
many charges of
noodles.
that lightning I've got.
All right, so with that said and done, boop! Hey, look at everybody, it's school. Let's play some ambience. So, we kick it off
Why
today.
Does this school look funny?
What is the school? What do you mean? What? Give me more information on what you mean.
It's got lions.
Is it the inside lions?
It's the
Yeah, inside lions. Do you not agree with the decoration
you can't
choices?
trick me. You can't trick me. We're gonna open those doors, and there's gonna be a fog, and it's gonna start playing some fucking Dark Souls music, and then we're gonna get in, and all those kids are gonna go. I played Elden Ring. Okay, I know this boss fight.
Anyways, we now return to your entry into a Rock Academy, the only premier school in all of Sandpoint, currently run by the illustrious Ilsoari Gandithus, the man standing before you all in the foyer of this rather large building. It is surprisingly one of the largest buildings in Sandpoint and is both a school and an orphanage. So there are quite a few children going about their daily business in this space. And as he brings you into the building and a bunch of kids go off to do their things after essentially calling the end of a break outside that you had come upon where the kids were playing outside of the building, Ilsoari stands, or Ilsoari, I guess. Ilsoari? Sure, that's it.
Ilsora.
Yeah. Illusaurus.
He's here.
Illin.
Hey Siri.
Captain Teach-a-Lot. Also, Hubert, thank you very much for the resub. We appreciate that. Yeah, so he has guided you all. As he guides you into this space, he kind of like gestures around and shows you that there are a few places to take note of. He says he'll be happy to give you a tour of the academy at some point later on, but right now he does need to attend to the next day's classes and is inviting you all in to essentially join for the day. And if you successfully make it through the afternoon class, he will happily provide his endorsement for your citizenship in the town, and also be willing to open up further avenues of teaching to any of you who wish to pursue it in the times.
Question.
Yes, Snooty?
Is this like Goblin school where you find biggest kid on the playground and then beat them up to show dominance?
Is Snooty asking Ilsari this?
Yeah.
So he's brought you all in and is giving you the rundown of the introduction to the space. And this is a fairly impressive, if simple-looking, foyer entryway at the front here. And you can see that there's an open area that leads to what looks to be some sort of, like, kitchenette or eating area where a lot of kids would probably go for their food. And then there's just, like, hallways that lead off to other places that are more likely other classrooms. However, this central classroom is open. The doors are open right now, and you can see, like, a bunch of kids have settled in. And as he's giving you this introduction and you ask that, Snooty, he just stops what he's doing and he goes, It's very important that I tell you this now, and I'd like you to hear me out very clearly. If you fight any of my children, you will be getting no endorsement from me.
But what if they beat me up because I'm so small?
Well, you'll have to convince them not to do that.
But what if they do it anyways because I'm a goblin and they're racist?
Then you leave that to me. I'll sort out the discipline. It's not for you to be the one to enforce that on the kids. They're just children.
Oh.
So you're saying we're not allowed to beat them up?
No.
Oh.
What about, spontaneous throw up?
Yeah.
Well, if the children are throwing up, then that's... I mean, that's... They'll be sent to the nurse.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
All right,
Okay,
good deal.
that works for me.
He narrows his eyes, looking across all four of you, and he goes,
Just
"Why?
little...
Right? Oh, God, what the fuck, Goblin? Thank you for the gifts up to Goblin Racism Must End." That's a hell of a fucking subscription. Also, alright. Oh, go ahead.
I get behind that sub. That's a good sub.
It is a good sub. Also, I think that brought us up to another point.
It did.
Alright, so 220. Whoa, not 2,120.
Oh, 2,000? Damn, pizza party time.
Yeah. We got to 2,000. It'd be a hell of a
So
pizza
hyper
party.
pizza party!
Elsewari looks over the four of you, and then also, kind of glances briefly over Oleg and Steve, and he goes, "Oh, well, two questions before I let you in there. One, why was vomit relevant to this conversation about children?"
Because kids, especially small goblin kids, throw up all the time.
Uh-huh.
Have a nice day, sir.
Walks past barf stick.
Are you just
Oh my
gonna
God, I'm
start
dying.
walking into the classroom?
I start walking in, barf stick in hand.
Oh no!
God.
Oh god, okay, so as Dixie and Snooty enter into the classroom, what are you doing, Newt?
I'm Newt.
Thank you for your input.
Elsewari turns to watch Snooty and Dixie just walk into the classroom, like a little bewildered, and then sees you say that, Newt, and then just looks at you with like a look of like, oh god, like suddenly he realized the work he has cut out for himself here at the moment. And as Newt says that, what are you doing, Desi?
I'm just gonna hand him an apple and be like, yeah, I'm Dazzy. And then, walk off.
You're gonna go just into the classroom?
Yeah, why not? Seems like that's the thing to do.
Stop bullying the children, Dixie. Alright, so
I think his
Desi...
parents fucking hate him.
you go ahead. Oh boy. Oh boy, okay. Yeah, so Elisari just is so confused at what you guys are doing right now. And basically, I also appreciate that none of you so far have decided to take a seat at the front of the class.
You have suspiciously left 4 open seats.
I did. I was
away
curious
from
to
the front
see
row.
I was curious to see the choices that were made there. Oswari looks. He's holding this apple now as you walk in, and he just turns to look at Newt, and he leans over and looks at Steve and Oleg, and he says, "Will your friends here be joining us?"
Oh?
To you, Newt.
What?
Your friends, your other goblin friend back there who looks very poorly dressed, and Oleg, well, I'm pretty sure I've taught already.
Oh, that's Steve.
Steve.
How did we get here?
You guys decided to go to school today.
Sorry, what?
Why don't I remember this in the slightest?
You sorted out the stuff with the tailor and her dad, and then you also you guys sorted out getting the construction and stuff done at the manor, and you came back. You decided to come to school today. That was what you guys decided collectively.
Was I here
Yeah.
last episode?
Yeah, you were here.
You were really out of it.
Yes, you were.
Okay.
You probably
We're
weren't.
at school now.
Yeah, you just woke up out of a fucking fever dream, and
Dixie
you're
was
like,
acting very out of character and very unhinged last session.
I'm the one who decides
Yeah.
what is in and out of character for Dixie.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
So Ilisari looks at you, Newt, and he says, your little friend and your big friend there, are they joining us today?
Steve, do you want to go to school?
Yes!
You could have just asked him, Mamari. He's a person.
It's Ilsoari.
Bless you.
Yeah, whatever.
You're inside
I'm
the
not there.
classroom.
Oh, okay. Come on, Steve.
All right, where do you want Steve to sit? There or there?
Wherever he sits.
All right, he is going to immediately take a seat here. And Oleg is going to just he's just gonna nod and he's just gonna say, I'm probably good on what needs to be learned in here, but I'm gonna take a seat in the back just so I can stick around. And Ilsoari is just gonna nod his head and he'll walk in. And Oleg
Where does Oleg sit?
The bench is in the back.
Okay, the moment that he gets back there, Snooty turns around and waves like, "Hi! Hi!
Oh. Hi, Oleg.
Oleg! Hi, Oleg!
Hi, Oleg.
Disruption."
Oleg, hi.
Oleg waves back at you guys, just clueless. And as you enter into the classroom, the children are they're a little startled by the fact that the most of you are just jumping into chairs in desks that are just completely amongst all of them. Some of the kids are excited and whispering and talking to one another. They're like, "Oh my god, are those goblins?" Blah blah blah. Some of them don't look as excited about your existence. And as you come in to this place as well, this one kid just gets up and walks over to the headmaster, and they have a bit of a short conversation, and then he just sighs and nods his head, and then the kid just looking around he looks almost afraid, and he goes back over here and opens the door and disappears into the academy.
Did he have to go to the nurse because he threw up?
Yeah, he's probably dead. Let me check. No.
I thought you were gonna check on the kid, but you fucking looked
No.
for
I
vomit.
was only checking for throw up.
Snooty, as you say that, Ilsor, the kids are quieting down now, and you say that out loud, and Ilsor just kind of in the middle of prepping his notes and stuff, looks up and he says, "Oh, Freddy didn't, he wasn't feeling well. I excused him for the day."
So he did throw up.
He
Oh my
might.
god,
No,
this is
no.
the best cheat code ever.
He
Hold on.
might throw up.
What are you doing?
I don't feel so good.
He looks down at you, just so confused and goes, I'm sorry, what?
I said that I don't feel so good.
Oh, okay. Then perhaps
Hook me up with access to this nurse's room.
I don't. Are you feeling unwell? Do you need?
Yep, all of the above.
You don't seem unwell.
Did Freddy seem unwell? I thought you were handing out like free passes.
He leans forward and he says, Freddy has reason to not want to be in a room full of goblins.
Yeah, so the fuck do I?
Is it?
Ilsuari looks a little like,
So do I.
Respectfully.
Give me a performance roll, Dixie.
Hold up.
Alright. The headmaster just takes a look at you for a moment and just looks like a little bewildered about what you're choosing to do and what you're not, and just goes, well, alright, if you head out that door and up the hall and to the right, you'll find the nurse's office.
Thanks.
Alright.
I hope you get feeling better, Dick.
Hold on. Before I leave the room, I want to whisper to Desi real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna go find out who's in charge. We'll topple the establishment.
And then I'll leave.
Alright. You know what? That's entirely fair. Alright. So, as how old are these goblins? Like all in their like early 20s. They're not children by any means.
It change frequently.
But they're small. Yeah, there is kind of a sometimes that goes up or down depending on the goblin bullshit pool, but overall, mid-20s is the general assessment. Anyways, so Dixie goes out into the hall and in pursuit of whatever subplot we're creating here.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about me for now.
Alright, and meanwhile, as we are going forwards from there, I'm going to change the music. So, we are going to pause the ambience at the school. We're going to play this music. Alright, so... Ilsuari, he claps his hands together, and he raises them in the air, and he says, Alright, children, it is time for our lesson. And he snaps his fingers, and the doors close magically. All of them on both sides. Just... And the kids...
It's a trap!
He looks a little surprised at your exclamation, Newton. He goes, No, that was just magic.
Newt would have also drew her club out and jumped up on top of the desk. She screamed that.
The kids are like, some of the kids scream as Newt does this.
Snooty throws a barf stick to Newt to use as a weapon.
Newt, can you give me a catch, let's see, a thievery roll to see if you catch that without it being a problem?
A what roll?
Thievery. Basically, it's your dexterity. You want to go and bullshit go that, or are you just gonna...
Let it ride.
Alright, Newt, give me a constitution saving throw, please. Or a, fortitude.
This is beautiful.
Off to a good start. Alright. You, catch the barf stick right in your hand and then have a brief, like, whoop moment before you choke back the vomit and hold it proudly as you stand up in the air, kind of like acting like you're in a trap at the moment. And Oleg is like standing up to be like, oh fuck, here we go. Meanwhile, Ilsawari is just like waving his hands. He's like, no, it's just I used magic to close the doors. It's not a trap.
Oh, okay. What? You can't just suddenly slam all the exits like that.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it is a little jarring.
My apologies.
Don't worry, Newt. I will sit over here so you know what? If I don't get worried, then don't get worried, okay?
Okay. Newt's gonna like sit down, but still be holding the bar stick.
I'm gonna turn and look at Snooty, and I'm gonna give her a thumbs up.
Give a thumbs up back, then turns to Oleg and gives a thumbs up to Oleg, then turns back and gives a thumbs up to Newt.
Newt's gonna give a thumbs up to Desi.
I'm gonna give that thumbs up to Oleg.
Oh. Some of the kids start doing it too. They start just giving thumbs up to each other and are like just passing along thumbs up. And suddenly the whole room is just full of different chains of like thumb upping to each other. And Ilsawari just like he pinches the bridge of his nose and he goes, "Stop it! Stop thumbing each other! Stop it!"
You know, sir, I don't know if this is appropriate for this age group, but we're all married, so it's okay. Oh my god. This fucking long COVID. I had to say that between wheezes because I was laughing.
Alright. I'm going to leave him there on screen. So that is the headmaster there, for those of you who need a closer view of Ilsawari. So he just kind of sighs for a bit and like just realizes the tone of what he said, and he says, anyways, resuming our lesson today, class, I'd like to introduce you to a group of goblins who are joining us here today. If you could all wave to the children.
He's gonna start looking around for the goblins that he's introducing. Where are they?
Newt, it's us. We're the goblins.
Oh,
It's us.
Oh.
Yeah. It's us.
Hi, us.
Hello.
Hi.
The kids are all like, some of them are giggling. They're like laughing about that. They think this is like a bit, like you're doing something goofy here, and some of them are just having a good chuckle. And Oleg is just sitting down and like folding his arms and just looking bemused. Ilsawari already now like rethinking his life choices. Just kind of sighs and says, yes, well, there you are. These are our guests from outside of Sandpoint. They come from the wilds. They have recently moved into our town in search of residency here. They are here to learn from us, and we are here to learn from them. Now, can anybody tell me what is a goblin? And he writes it down in chalk on the desk.
Hold my hand up.
Points to you, Desi.
Goblin is a small humanoid that usually is green or a shade of skin tone that, well, is not weird and peachy like yours. Commonly lives in swamps, but can also live in mountains, lowlands, and other places. Normally would not be found in this setting, but, you know, we are a tenacious and inventive species.
And also, weird ones come in red sometimes.
Yeah, that's really weird. I thought they came in hats, though.
No. They come on hats.
Oh my god.
No, I don't really understand it, but I try to be supportive.
No, Cadence, no.
Something about a brim job?
Can't breathe. I can't breathe.
The headmaster looks a little like he's got like a, what the fuck are you talking about look on his face, but he just kind of yes, Desi, that's correct. Very astute observation of the goblin types. Now, does anyone know where most goblins come from originally?
Normally, the groin area.
That's a good one. I was going to say the goblin baby pit.
Goblins come from other goblins.
He sighs.
Or in other goblins.
Some of the kids are looking really confused. And one of them raises their hands, and he goes, "Yes, Griffey." Headmaster? What? I'm confused. They're using this term in different ways. It's... I'm not entirely sure where they're coming and going of goblins is. And Ilsori just kind of nods and he says, they come from a wilder place and are a little bit more forwards about things that we generally don't talk about in public spaces. So I'm sorry, children, if they're a little confusing at times, but this is meant to be a cultural exchange, so thank you all for being patient as we work through this.
Yeah, no worries. We understand.
What was that?
I'm fine.
You just hear that outside the classroom. Elisari just looks like he thinks like, should I go out there? Should I? And he just shakes his head and says, anyways, today I was hoping that we could learn a few things about one another and help these goblins understand what it is that we do here on Sandpoint and how we approach our societal norms and standards of education. So, I think it would be very helpful if I invited our goblin friends here to come up and speak about their histories. So, he steps aside and kind of like hands out a piece of chalk into the air and says, if any of our goblin friends would like to come up first and tell us about themselves, I'd appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to do that, but maybe Snooty or Newt want to go first.
I go first. I go first.
Is like standing on her desk, waving her hand.
I go first.
Okay.
He holds the chalk in your direction, Snooty, and says, well, Snooty, come on up. Give us an introduction.
Jumps on the desk. Jumps off the desk, falls. Gets up. And continues forward. Grabs the chalk. Looks at the chalk. Looks at him. Looks at the board. Looks at the chalk again. Sticks out her tongue and goes, ah?
No. You use that to draw with. You don't eat it.
Oh.
Yes, you can take this piece of... It's called chalk. And what you do is you take the chalk and you draw things on the board in relation to the story you're telling.
Oh. Okay.
Snooty puts the chalk to the board,
Like.
and then just taps it.
Just.
Yeah, yes.
Oh.
And then you move it around and it makes things appear on the board.
So Snooty starts just scribbling for a moment, trying to understand it real quick. And then she attempts to remember what some of the letters look like from that book that Desi showed her in an attempt to write her name. But it's literally just scribbles. There is no indication that it was ever a name whatsoever. And then she turns around triumphantly and goes,
I am Snooty. I am chief wife of Goblin tribes of suck frogs. I have 2 wives.
Points to 2 wives.
Hi.
Hi.
And a dog.
Shivers at
Dog evil, but this dog good dog. And we have an Oleg.
points to Oleg in the back.
Oleg just gives like an awkward wave to the kids as they all turn around and look at him.
Newt will give a thumbs up to Oleg.
Sorry, nods his head and he says, well, that's very interesting. Now, can you tell the children a little bit about yourself, Snooty?
Yeah. Snooty, Snooty wants to be a celebrity, which means Snooty write music, and people like Snooty. Mhm.
Ah, so you want to be a bard?
Celebrity.
Yes, I suppose that's what all bards want. And he just looks at you and says, well, if you're so capable of performance, perhaps you'd like to give the children a song from one of your villages.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Goblin songs are scary for
Well,
people things.
do you have any goblin songs that might not scare the children, or any songs you know of in general that you could share with them?
Snooty will think real fast. Give Snooty one moment.
You see her kind of like tapping her head, trying to think of.
Desi's gonna start raising her hands.
As she looks at you, or he looks at you, Desi, and goes, yes, Desi, what is it?
Yeah, but the non-scary song that, goes, my name is, Gobbleheimer Smith.
Oh, that one hard for Snooty. I will say that. That one hard one.
Snooty rushes over to Oleg, rips the fucking her loot off of him because she's keeping him as a pack mule at the moment. Runs back up to the front, and you just hear her go,
Hold on. I think of something. I think though. Why you all think?
grabs Newt over desk, throws up here. He goes over here into the corner and starts trying to figure out a song to play.
All right, Newt, you are now in front of the class. Snooty is sitting in the corner trying to think of it. What do you want to do as you're thrust up in front of everybody?
I'm Newt.
Everybody just kind of like stops for a minute, and then all the kids go, hi, Newt.
And this is Newty. Points on shoulder at cat-sized Newt.
And the kids go, hi, Newty.
Mr. Babari, what was I supposed to talk about?
It's Il Sawari, and you're just about to talk about yourself to the children.
Oh, I'm Newt. I was a witch doctor in training, and I got named Newt because I enjoyed collecting shinies and also collecting little Newt friends, and I found a cool shiny thing. And then everyone acted weird after I found cool shiny thing, and they would be like, "Hey Newt, let's go out into the swamp for a little journey." And I'd be like, "Okay." And then they'd be like, "Hey, what's in that cave?" And then they would block the cave entrance.
So some of the kids are like looking at each other, like sharing concerned glances.
And then one time, they said we were gonna play hide and seek, and he had me get into a box, and then put box in ground.
One of the
It
kids
took a while to dig out.
One of the kids raises his hand to like get your attention, Newt, and is like waving it at you.
Yes.
Did they let you out of the box?
No. I dug my way out.
They all look at each other again. And Elsewhere just kind of like face palms a bit. And he says, maybe talk about something else.
Oh, okay. I found a cool item, and then I heard weird voice. And then, voice was like, go to town over, cause you do not work enough for the thing I am trying to do. And then the voice did something to piss off, some other beings, and then things happened, and then voice stopped talking.
Another kid raises their hand in your direction.
Yes, you?
What does the voice sound like?
Kind of like, low and growly, with a hint of brimstone.
Elsewhere's eyes like open up pretty wide as he hears that. And he looks down at you with like a renewed look of barely restrained horror. And he just goes, that's quite fascinating, Newt. Tell me, is that why you don't, why you're floating?
I don't know if the two are connected.
I see.
Desi is just furiously writing in her science log.
But yeah, I haven't heard voice since the other, voices, punished the voice. Voice tried to do something to some priestess.
There's like more concerned glances, and Elsewhere just looks like he's like, oh boy. And he,
but
go ahead, Newt.
But people in the village did not like that Newt could float and stuff, and they said like, hey, you can't be a head witch doctor. And I was like, what? Okay. And then they're like, hey, let's go play in the woods. And then after like the 10th or 13th time, I couldn't find way back to village, so I just started wandering.
So there's like an awkward pause, and some of the kids are looking at each other, and Elsewhere is like, he's thinking, and he leans over and he goes, Snooty, did you figure out what you were going to perform for the children?
Yeah. Give one more moment. Hold on, I got this.
Oh, then there was this one time that before the other voices did the thing to the brimstony voice, that the brimstony voice was like, got angry because of person trying to stop me from heading into the other village that he wanted, and then they became inside out.
Kids are like, some of them look fascinated, and others are just kind of like really uncomfortable. And Elsewhere says,
Oh wait, maybe I should change the subject. This might not be appropriate.
Looks to Ilisari.
he just gives
As if,
you
like-
like a very like open-eyed like nod, like yes, up and down.
Okay, well, let me tell you the time that we ran into some bandits, and I warned them about squirmy wormies.
Desi's gonna stop drawing in her science note, look up, look at Newt, and then slowly look at the children and begin to write in her book
So,
human shock behavior.
so I kept telling them that squirmy wormies was a thing if they were gonna keep threatening us, and I was like, you don't want the squirmy wormies, and they just kept laughing. And then finally I convinced the guy he didn't want squirmy wormies, so he locked himself into cage. And then his followers were like, we don't think squirmy wormies is real. And I'm like, oh, it's real. And they're like, no, it's not. And then he started melting, and worms started crawling and burrowing out of his skin. And
Snooty, is
he
your
let out,
song
like,
ready
"Oh,
now?
song,
Are you
I
ready to
thought of a
perform?
song. Also, Lord Zach, thank you so much for tipping $40.
That's a strange song name, but yes, thank you very much, Lord Sagpora.
Oh, so do I not finish story about squirmy wormies?
We can
No,
come-
you can say more stories after song, and Desi says hello,
Oh,
and then we do more
Didn't
stories.
say anything to me.
okay.
All right.
So this is a song called Goblin Fair. I hope you all like it. It was very hard to translate it into not goblin. Are you going to Goblin Fair? Toads and frogs and underwear. Remember he to one who lived there. She was a goblin of mine. Have her make me a yummy pear. Toads and frogs and underwear. With no wormies nor prickly sorts. She was once a goblin of mine.
give me a performance roll. I'll give you fortune on it for your efforts to change the
Nice.
text.
Thank you. I full on translated all of that. I was like, how can I make this very goblin?
All right. With 20, the kids look at you for a moment, and then they all begin to clap. They all erupt into clapping, and the Elisari looks a little bit amused as he's like, he joins in the clapping, and everyone's like, woo! And he is like looking where Newt is, and he just turns and looks at you, and like he's just kind of like gesturing to you, Newt, without saying anything, like get back over here, like get out of my desk. But he's not saying anything. So how do you want to react to that, Newt?
Starts clapping too.
Snooty, how do you react to all this applause?
Thank you. Thank you. I will be going to school here.
And then just goes and sits down back in her seat.
the one girl behind you where you sit down just kind of leans forward over her desk, and she just says, "I love your hair."
Thank you. I use mud.
Oh, sorry, it's like he's looking over at you, Newt, and he's like thinking about it, but then he realizes if he gets you up from the desk, you're going to continue telling your squirmy wormy story. So he just does some mental calculations, and he goes, Desi, would you like to come up and give your introduction to the class?
1 second, one minute. Okay. Yeah. I can do that now. do you want me behind the desk, or am I okay here?
He holds the chalk out and says, if you'd like, you can draw visuals associated with it on the board, but otherwise, wherever you'd
Okay.
like to stand.
Yeah,
Wait, I
thank
could
you.
have drawn visuals the whole time?
Fuck me.
You didn't offer me the chalk?
Do you want to come up here and use the chalk?
No, you take your turn. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. Ahem. Oops. There we go. She's gonna start writing on the chalkboard. She's gonna be writing her name, and it's gonna be mostly legible. It's not like cursive or flowing or fancy, but it is her name. Yeah, my name is Desi Fisbinger. Hello, hi, I am a goblin. I actually have already been to school, so this is sort of like a weird experience. I had 2 years of school, initially in the first town that I was in. Normally, my kind is in the forest, and we were trading with a human for things. But, then I came back to help make bombs. And I decided to stay. So I got an education, and I have become very well versed in scientific theory. So me being here is sort of kind of like a novelty kind of thing. But I'm here to support, my wives and Oleg, who probably needs more school. Anyway, she's gonna start writing on this board, and she's gonna start starting with essentially what is the components to make a bomb, which is basically saltpeter, sulfur, a bunch of other things, a container. What's that cookbook?
The Anarchist Cookbook?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, she's like, if somebody understood what was going on, they could use this to make one of Desi's bombs, like the ones that she just kind of throws, the little ones.
Okay, so you're teaching the children how to create explosives.
Yeah, and she's gonna tap on it, and she's gonna be like, lots of people think that bombs are only for dangerous things like zombies, thugs, or people that, should be squirmy and mermaid. But honestly, these are very valuable tools. They take out stumps to make clear farmland. They can block rubbles. They can open passages. Really, honestly, if there's any job that you want to do with a hammer or a pickaxe, a bomb will do it better. Which, we come to this conclusion, she's going to start drawing this man. And this man has a mustache and a suit.
Oh, no.
And a ridiculously big hat. And she's going to point at him. And she's going to tap her finger furiously. This man over here, his name is Tim Timotome. And he is the person that I have come here to kill. This man saw my potential and the usefulness of my bombs and marketed them and then stole my recipes and then tried to assassinate me. And now I am here to murder the fuck out of him.
I swear he looks down at you with like a a chastising glance.
Not here personally today. Why I'm in the vicinity.
It's behind, sorry, he'll hear, loud crunching from Newt's position.
He turns to look, and what does he see?
She has, essentially what would look like a popcorn thing, but it's, full of, a more goblin equivalent of popcorn as she's just eating it, and he has no idea where it came from.
So, like a bunch of fucking bugs?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He looks at you with this look on his face, like, where did that even fucking come from? And, go ahead, does he?
Yeah, no, I am sorry. Let me explain. How many of you guys know how to kill ghosts?
They all look at each other, and one kid in the back, who looks like this, small orc boy, in the very back left, raises his hand slowly in the air.
Yes, you.
You hit them with stuff?
No. Hitting ghosts does not work. What you got to
No,
do...
it does work. Remember, I made that one throw up. I hit it with that stick that Newt has behind your desk.
Like, with this stick. Here, catch. Throws it to Ilisari.
As he's gonna pinch the bridge of her nose and then look at Ilisari and then open her mouth to be like, yeah, see what I have to work with sometimes looks like really good. And then she sees the stick and she just stares for a minute and goes, oh yeah, you better duck.
Oh no. he he reflexively snatches it out of the air. And now I give him a fortitude save. What is it? Is it 15 or is it... let me look at the Staff of Barf real quick. I can't remember what the AC or the difficulty number is.
It's 14.
Oh no. Else. He snatches it out of the air like a fucking trying to show off like he's like some quick moving fucking teacher who's like, oh, I see that coming, you know, proud in the grab, and he just snatches it out of the air to look at the stick in confusion before he just goes onto the ground in front of the kids, and all the children go, ew.
He threw up.
He holds the stick out in front of him for a minute and just looks at everybody with this like wide-eyed like reaction on his face, and then he just very quickly he like moves his hand in like a movement and scans it over the stick, like looking at it with just like this pissed off look on his face. And it's obvious that like he puts his hand over it, and for a brief moment he has this like sense of identifying what it is that he is currently holding, and he just looks, his brow furrows even more, and he like has a gesture or a look on his face that like connects the dots very obviously between when you were asking about barfing earlier and this moment right now, and he just kind of wipes his mouth with the edge of his robe and just kind of like dabbing in his mouth, and he says,
You
Schnooty.
need to go to the nurse.
No, I do not. Schnooty, this, I believe, is yours, yes?
Yeah, that's mine.
He doesn't hand it to you. He pulls it away, and he says, I'm going to put this up here, and he puts it out of reach of where you could grab it on the top of the blackboards. He goes, no, sit down, you'll get this back off the class.
Oh. Big puppy dog goblin eyes. And then just pouts and slowly makes her way to her chair.
Jesse, what are you doing?
Snooty, here. I'm gonna pass Snooty my my dead elf hand.
Is this another way of announcing our marriage by giving me your hand?
Oh god.
Jesse,
I'm sorry, the noise I made was too high pitched. Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna I'm gonna
Crunch, crunch, crunch. This is a good show.
Yeah, but I'm letting you borrow this because it gives you the power to grab things with your mind.
whoa.
Yeah, that way he can't take it whenever you want it. You can just get it when he's not looking.
Oh, but I have a gun. I think I'll be okay.
Then maybe not shoot him. Maybe just take it. Okay, well,
Newt, what was the
I'm
perception
just gonna grab her
check
by the
for?
fucking cheeks on the front of her. I'm just gonna grab her by the cheeks. We'll place a kiss on her forehead. And we'll go back.
Newt's gonna start searching in the desk while she's eating the popcorn
Oh my
equivalent.
I can't believe Desi fucking grabs people by the cheeks. Goddamn.
god.
You're not here.
It's me. I was about to get to that actually before we continue, but Ilsawari, you can see Desi and Snooty. Snooty, as you go sit down again, and Desi, you have that interaction. Ilsawari does some magical movements with his hands, and it kind of like sweeps up and cleans up the vomit into kind of like a little swirl, and then disappears. And he just kind of like wipes his mouth some more, looking rather upset. And he turns to look at Newt, who is just like, you're obviously audibly ruffling through his desk, yes?
Oh yeah, she's just looking.
So as you sift through the desk, you can see a couple of things. One is there's a hand crossbow in one of the drawers. With a couple of like there's some interesting looking bolts, small little bolts that you would load into the hand crossbow. Some of them look like normal bolts, but others look like they have these small containers on the front of them that like hold some kind of liquid. And then in one of the other desks, you can just see what looks to be mostly just like stationary stuff, you know, like quills, inkwells, a whole fuckload of paper, a couple of books. You can see that there's a book in there that's basically like, one of the doors is, or, well, I suppose the best way to outline the book is, what are you doing, or what are you stealing?
The arrows on the hand crossbow.
Okay, before we get to that, let me just give you the rest of it.
Okay.
There's one door or drawer that is locked. It's like the central one, like a key would be needed, or picking the lock would be needed to open it. And otherwise, the only other thing is that there's a book in there that's basically like summarily a couple of books actually that are just related to like teaching children history. So you're going to try and steal those bolts?
First she's gonna like open the one drawer, lift the books out, sit them on the desk, and sit like the popcorn thing there, like use it as a table.
Oh. Okay.
Because the desk is kind of tall. And then then she's gonna try to actually get into the other drawer.
Okay. So do you want to keep your thievery roll before I have...
No, goblin bullshit, go!
Alright, goblin bullshit, go. Give me a reroll. Hey, that's pretty good. You you suddenly have a rusty basic dagger in your left hand.
Oh, this will make it good for getting in that drawer.
I'm gonna give Ilsawari his perception roll. I'll say you managed to pocket one of those bolts to investigate later, but as you do so and are like literally trying to pick the lock into his fucking desk, he just turns and notices you and he goes, "Excuse me, that's my desk."
No.
Desi's gonna poke her head around fucking the teachers, and she's just gonna make she's gonna start weaving like an airplane, like a fucking trafficker. She's gonna do an interpretive dance to try to get Newt to understand that.
I just dropped one of my bug corns. That's all.
Oh, good. She's gonna give Newt the thumbs up.
I just dropped a bug corn and I was trying to get it.
Elsawari is a little less distracted by your, like, he's he keeps looking between Desi, who is like stopping what she's doing every time he turns to look at her, and turning back to Newt, and like the back and forth is making the children laugh. They're like giggling as the two of you are kind of like doing this. What it looks like a bit to them, and the headmaster is just like looking between the two of you, and he just sighs and he goes, "Take your whatever it is you're eating, and there's no snacks in class. Put that away."
Oh, you never said that when
You
we
know,
started.
it would be cooler if there was snacks.
You never said there wasn't, so I'm really sorry.
I didn't have the opportunity to address that. I apologize.
Oh, it's fine. I didn't have the opportunity to ask, so I guess we're both at fault.
He just sighs and pinches the bridge of his nose and says, "Newt, could you please take a seat in one of the desks out amongst the children again, please? Thank you."
Okay.
Hold on, I gotta... there.
What was the athletics roll for?
Newt's trying to push the desk over to where the children is.
My God.
Do you want to goblin bullshit that, or are you good?
No, that's pretty good actually for Newt's strength.
You start very like he looks like he sighs like, "Oh good, she's agreeing," and then his brow furrows with his eyes closed, as just for the briefest moment everyone hears of like the desk being moved across the floor about a meter before he just steps in front of it and stops you from moving it forward, and he says, "Let me be more clear for you. Please stand up without touching anything around here and walk over to that desk you're sitting in," pointing to the one next to Steve, "and take a seat."
Sorry, I thought it was weird that you wanted me to move your desk. That makes sense.
That's quite alright. And by this point, some of the kids are like trying very hard not to just erupt into laughter. Like there's like snickering in the classroom, and the kids are like some of them are like smacking their desk, like trying not to laugh their asses off. Is there anything else you want to do, Desi, before he turns to address the class? Oh, Newt, what are you doing?
Where do you want me to put this?
You grabbed the chair from the desk, didn't you?
No.
Is Newt holding the chair from the desk?
Newt's holding the chair from her desk, and she has his chair from his desk, where her chair was.
My God.
At this point, as you come up to Iltuari and say this, the kids just burst out laughing. Like, they're all like, they can't hold their shit together anymore. They're all just like laughing their asses off, and Iltuari just like, he's got his face in his hands, and he's like, "Oh, fuck me." He doesn't say that,
Oh,
but
never mind.
obviously.
I know.
Puts her old chair here, then walks back up to him and goes,
Also, where should I put my snack since there's no food in the classroom? Should I put it outside the door?
He looks at you with like a furrowed brow, and before he can say anything, I'd like to check in with Dixie. So Dixie, you left to go investigate who is in charge of this space. What have you been pursuing as this has been going on exactly?
I've been pursuing the nurse's office. I was gonna go to the nurse's office.
All right, so it doesn't
Is there
take
a
you
map
very.
over here?
Sorry?
Is there a map over here that's just dark out?
No, we weren't able to get the whole
Oh, it's
map of
okay,
the
it's
academy
okay.
finished, so we're only working with this space at the moment. So, but yeah, there
oopsie.
isn't a nurse's office. So you find it pretty easily, and as you go in, you can see that there is this woman who, like, probably in her, like, early 40s, not much of a looker, but definitely, like, a very sweet-looking kind of lady. And she turns to look at you, and she goes, she looks incredibly surprised, and goes, Are you a goblin?"
My leg hurts.
Oh, what are you doing in
I
the
think-
academy?
Oh, I think I sprained my ankle.
She's like looking around, like is this a joke? Am I gonna die? Like she doesn't know how to handle this, but she just kind of swallows it.
I run up to her and like grab the bottom of her shirt and give her like puppy dog eyes.
Give me
Please.
give me. Let's see. Give me a performance roll. All right. The nurse looks down at you, Dixie, and she just kind of swallows her pride a bit, and she just like inside, she's just like, "All right, all right, Enith, you've got this. You swore an oath of healing." And she looks down at you and goes, all right, dear. Get up on the bed over here, and I'll take a look at your injuries, okay?"
I fake having like this horrible sprained ankle, and I just slowly, inch my way over to the table and sit on it.
She comes over and she lifts your leg up to take a look at it and just kind of moves it around, testing for like pain response.
It doesn't feel ow there.
She nods her head and says, "Okay, all right. I see where the problem is." And she takes a little moment to put her hand on your leg and just goes, "Okay, just give it a moment here. I'm just gonna..." And like there's a slight glow that emanates from her hand, and you can feel like your leg feels good because obviously you were just faking an injury. But now it feels, even better. Like it's been given a lighter kind of feel to it. And she just goes, "There you go. Does that feel better, dear?"
I slowly lean in, trying to make small talk while she's busy.
Uh-huh.
So, whose payroll are you on?
You know what I mean? Like who's just between me and you, since we're close now. Like,
Oh my goodness.
Who's the big bitch in charge? You know what I'm saying?
Here, I'm gonna change the music for a bit here, just so we're not listening to the same track over and over the whole time. All right. So you basically start asking this woman like, who runs this bitch essentially, and as she's
yeah, but I say it super smooth and really cool. Like
All
she's busy
right.
healing. So
all right. You know what? Let's see how well super smooth goes down. Give me a diplomacy roll.
okay. Goblin bullshit, go! Who's in charge? Huh?
The goblin who called for bullshit's eyes grow 3 times in size for an hour. So you're asking this woman, basically like trying to be subtle and smooth about it, but you really just come across as like kind of crazy. And as she looks up from healing you, she just sees that your eyes have like widened to almost like anime character proportions, and she just has this brief moment of like, ah! and looks up and down at you for a minute and just goes, everyone who works here is employed by Elisari. He's the headmaster. How do you want to react to that information, Dixie?
Where would this headmaster live?
he has a residence in the lower levels of the building.
In the building, you say? That's interesting.
Yes.
Thank you so much. My ankle is feeling a lot better. You're very good at your job.
You're quite welcome. Is it so somebody supposed to, are you
Goodbye.
Did you just leave?
Oh fuck yeah, I know, I'm out. I sprint the fuck out of that out of there. I'm gone.
So she looks a little confused. And just like obviously she just can't continue her train of thought, so she looks a little like alright. And as you sprint out into the hallway, we will return once more to the class at hand. So, now that you guys have thoroughly made a disruption of this educational experience, Ilsuari looks down at you, Newt, and he just goes, just sit down at that desk over there, please. Pointing to the one next to Steve.
Okay.
Carry snack over to desk since he didn't tell her to do anything with it.
And he just nods and he just says, just keep your food and try not to make too much noise with it.
Okay.
Do you want me to go sit down, or do you want me to talk about my Uncle Danny DeCito?
He looks at you, Desi, and he looks at the man in the hat, and he looks like kind of, like almost like he has a bit of a recognition to it, like looking at the drawing, and is kind of thoughtful for it for a moment, and then just looks down at you and goes, oh, well, I'd like to allow the children the opportunity to ask you questions, if that's all right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I will be taking questions now.
So the kids are like look at each other after all the laughter dies down, and the kids are like, you know, they're kind of chuckling a bit, and one of them raises their hand for your attention, Desi. This one over here.
Ah, yes, you.
You were talking about killing ghosts. How did you do that?
Oh, well, you see, normally whenever I want to kill
The
ghosts,
barf stick.
Burning the painting.
It's gonna pinch the bridge of her nose, and she's gonna go, to kill a ghost, it's important to be a good wife and encourage your other wives to, figure it out. Also, hold on a second. Then it's gonna start, she's gonna rip a page out of her notebook. She's gonna start writing down basically a chemical formula, and essentially, what is the chemical compound of the accelerant that will heat up the holy water, to turn it into holy water vapor, and then basically a process on how to take, basically steel and salt and dissolve that and add it to the mix, so it basically becomes a holy fragmentation bomb. And then she's gonna go, shh, and then she's gonna go back to the
Newt
class.
raised his hand.
Yes, Nit.
Is this gonna be on the test?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Pulls out their book that is a mimic of Desi's book and starts writing in it.
Which I assume is just scribbles.
Yeah, and pictures. Mostly pictures.
Snooty, it taps over to Griffey.
Hey, do you have a piece of paper? I want to be like my wives, but I don't know how to write.
The kid next to you, like, he looks a little, startled at your tap for a second, and then goes, oh, yeah, hold on, I gotta... He reaches into his, like, school bag, and he pulls out, like, a bound book, and, roots around and pulls out, like, what is essentially, like, a pencil, and he hands them to you, and he says, I have a lot of extra empty books. I like to do a lot of drawing, so here, you can have this one.
Ah, thank you. Thank you.
Goes over and taps Terrence.
Hey, do you have a quill that I can borrow?
He just like looks at you confused and then points to the desk in front of you where there's like a quill and inkwell
Yeah,
that's
but I
like
don't
on
want that one. I want yours. Yours looks cool and from home.
Give me a diplomacy roll, Snooty.
Yeah, hold on. I'm laughing too hard. Excuse me.
Bad.
Oh, fucking goblin school. Alright, do you want to keep that roll before I
Yes.
go?
Because
Okay.
if I roll again, it's going to be lower and closer to 10. I know my luck. Fuck.
He looks like a little jealous and he's like, no, just use your own.
Okay.
Pouty face. Reaches out, grabs quill, rips paper with quill, goes to next page, puts quill down on paper, rips paper again, looks at quill, looks at paper, looks at quill again, looks at Terrence.
I don't know what I'm doing.
The kid who gave you the book, looking like absolutely horrified at you just destroying 2 pages in this empty book, just kind of gets up and comes over to you, and he's like, no, here, let me show you how it's done, okay?
Okay.
So the kid reaches out and he like takes your hand in his basically and like guides your hand with the quill, and it's like you got to be gentle with it, and if you're light. And then he goes and like shows you how to like dip it into the inkwell and take out the ink, and he's like, now make sure you don't take too much ink as well because it gets really messy. And he's like guiding your hand and like showing you like how to draw in the book, and is keeping your hand very light on the page. And as he does so, you can see that the quill creates this like very pretty looking line of black ink on the page.
Whoa. Thank you.
Attempts to write something is just scribbles, and she looks at it very proudly.
The kid laughs and he says, how do you your name is Snooty, right?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Squiggle. A squiggle that look like this. Two circles that look like
She's using her hands for the shapes, by the way.
this. D.
The kid gives you like a, oh, you poor idiot look, basically, like very sympathetic.
Know anything.
Yeah. The kid is like, he's like trying not to laugh and also just looks very like, aw. And he goes, okay, hold on, I think I know how it might be spelled. So he takes your hand and goes, do you want to spell out your name with me?
Yeah, I want to spell my name.
Okay. So he starts moving your hand as like, and he starts with the first letter and he does it like an S.
Excuse me. What was your name?
Who? The kid?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks up and he goes, oh, I'm Griffey.
Griffey? Can you please take a seat? I believe Mr. Ilsororo is trying to teach a class, and I don't think you raised your hand or got permission.
Ilsawari like nods his head and says, Griffey, I appreciate you teaching this goblin how to write, and we can get to that later. Snooty, I would very much so appreciate you allowing Griffey to teach you, and any other goblins who wish to learn it how to write. But until we are done with the lesson, perhaps we could hold off on that for now?
Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to be like my wives and write things.
Griffey just nods sheepishly and he says, "Sorry, headmaster." And he goes, "That's all right. I do appreciate you carrying forth the teaching spirit, but there's a time and place for everything."
Yeah, I appreciate you trying to help teach my wife, but, you know, the law is the law.
Tips hat.
God damn it, this thing. Oh my god, fucking Newt. Ilsuari, like, hears that. Sorry, I have to, after the break, I'm gonna bring that up for everybody to see. Meanwhile, though, Ilsuari just kind of gestures to the rest of everybody and goes, "Yes, we'll get to that in due time. Does anyone else have any questions for Desi?" And there's a kid
Newt
who
raised his hand.
Okay, go ahead, Desi. How do you want to respond to that? Desi?
Huh?
How do you want to respond to Newt raising her hand?
Well, I was in the middle of basically dying from coughing, so I'm gonna be like, yes, Newt.
How did you become such a smart and beautiful wife?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just gonna go here and Desi's going to she's gonna take that compliment. She's gonna grin like an idiot for a second and then clear her throat and be very, very serious business. Yeah, that is a good question to ask. You see, by goblin standards, I am in fact a hideous creature that would be shunned in the dating pool. So I don't know about that part, but you know, this is my first time being a wife. So I'm really glad to know that I am doing well. As far as the smart thing, you know, I was, you know, I was educated. Also, my Brian is probably bigger than most goblins, so yes. Good question. Also,
Desi, how come your Brian's so big?
that is an even better question. You see, my theory is, according to the location of our river and our diet mostly containing of fatty fish, I am assuming that the nutritional content of the fish allowed my kind to have bigger Brians and grow slightly taller than you guys. Also, I have a tail.
Oh.
The kids are like looking at each other like, what the fuck is this conversation? And Ilsuari just kind of sighs and he says, "Any other questions from perhaps one of my students this time?" And this kid over here raises their hand.
Newt
Oh.
raised his hand.
Okay, okay. You see, Desi, you see Newt raising her hand and this kid over here raising their hand. What do you do?
Wait, it's Dilsum and who else?
Bilsum and Newt.
Okay, you know what? I have to do this one more time. Yes, Newt.
Oh, my question is for Ilmari.
Okay. Please hold your question for the moment. Yes, you, the small human in the desk.
He raises his hand up and he says, "Can you show us one of your bombs?"
Yeah, I can.
Ilsuari puts a hand on your shoulder and he goes, "Please try not to blow up my classroom."
Oh, no, it's okay. You know what? I haven't done anything today bomb-related, so I can just put together an empty shell.
He nods cautiously, and says, "All right, well then, our little goblin alchemist friend here will give us a demonstration."
Yes, yeah.
Dude's just like, you want to teach the kids how to build bombs in my class? Fucking go ahead.
As he's gonna pull out basically what she uses for bomb casings, which are gourds and like melon rinds and stuff like that. Things that most people would like throw out or discard, but once they're, dried or whatever, it's fine. She also has like some like little bits of like pottery or crockery. Really, she just seems to make them out of anything that's available. Today is basically a gourd that has been dried out, like a drinking gourd, and then cut down the center that she can basically twist, and then she's fastened it essentially with basically like pins, so it sticks together until it hits. But she's going to give essentially an empty bomb complete with fuse to Steve and just be like, yeah, when you are done, just pass it to the next person, and you can take a look at it. You can just open it by removing the pin. Yeah. There. Yep.
Steve looks very curiously at it, and he just makes like a noise briefly before like his brain connects on pass it to the next person. So he just takes it and throws it over his shoulder to the kid behind him without even looking where he's throwing it.
Yeah, but technically that works.
Okay. Reflex. All right, the kid catches it. Terrence snags it out of the air and looks down at it, like looking like, ooh. And he's like,
yeah, these can be filled with fire and poison and shocky bits and anti-ghost dust. You can also fill it with bees.
Not the bees.
We are still testing the viability of the bees. They tend to not be on board after you throw them. So
they're like talking amongst. Did you only give one bomb to pass out amongst the kids?
yes.
Okay, so Terrence looks at it really closely and is like really interested, and then he's just looking around who to pass it to, and then he just cautiously hands it to you, Snooty.
Hands it to Griffey.
So as it's getting passed around amongst the children, then they're all taking a close look at it, being like, ooh, ah. Desi, what are you, no, Cuber, you fuck ass. Desi.
Yes, the squirmy wormy bomb.
Desi, as you are up on stage continuing to speak as they're passing the bomb around, what else do you say to them?
Yes, this is not only the things that I make. Sometimes I make magical items, such as my hat. Observe. And she's just going to use prestidigitation, which basically is she's just going to make like a little like sparkle foosh of basically harmless fire that's like blue and then pink colored. And then she's going to snap it out. And then she's going to take her hat off and basically give that to Yilvin to pass around and try. Yeah, I also make like these really comfy cloaks that make it so you can like nap, and then I make like weapons and other things. One day I will make a giant submersible crab, and I will use it to stock the oceans for Tim Timatum. But for now, I try to be practical.
All right, as the show and tell continues. Meanwhile, Dixie, where does your next journey take you from the healer's, or the nurse's office, air quotes?
I'm going to the headmaster's room, obviously.
Alright, so you remember that there was some mention of it being, like, on a lower level, so what do you...
Well, I'm looking for like just a set of stairs, and then I'm going down to his room.
Alright, give me a... perception. Yeah, just give me a perception roll. Alright. So you do manage to eventually, as you're looking around, let me just the door on the top with the shelf of lanterns is the basement entrance. Okay. So where's the entrance to the upper part? All right, well, let's we'll just use it theater of the mind here because I don't have a finished map. So eventually you make your way to, if I'm reading it right, technically there is one part of the map that is actually still included here, which would be this door over here, which leads down to the basement. And there is a very clear sign. Dixie can read, right?
As long as it's in common, I can read it,
yeah. Yeah, it's written out in common. And what the common says is basically like, I guess the best way to describe the description is like Headmaster Elisari's like gallery of curiosities. Do not enter without permission.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and enter without permission real quick.
Alright, you find that the door is locked. What do you want to do about that?
Sorry, I'm looking through like my stuff here.
Do you have any lockpicks?
I have a crowbar.
I mean, if you want to give that a try, you are more than welcome to.
Ooh. Every time I do this stuff, they always figure out that it was me somehow.
I wonder why. Well, it seems you've got a couple of choices here. One is you can use your crowbar with your stellar athletics skill. But because it's
Let's
a crowbar, all right, the crowbar gives you fortune, so you can choose the roll 2, get the highest with it. So give me an athletics roll with fortune, please. Wow, that was higher than I thought. Do you want to goblin bullshit go that, or are you
Oh,
good?
fuck no.
All right.
That is the best I'm gonna get.
The good news is, it's not a very intense lock. It's not. It's basically the equivalent of like a shitty indoor lock. Like nobody's put in any huge effort to make sure that this thing is anything other than like keep children out, essentially. So you wedge the crowbar in and you manage to dislodge the lock from its lock well enough that it looks it definitely looks like somebody broke in, but the door is open now.
All right, I'm gonna sneak downstairs into the room then to see what I can find.
All right. So you just are going to decide to sneak down into the lower building, lower elements of the building.
I'm gonna close it up as best as I can to make it sort of look like nothing happened.
Give me a let's call it a crafting roll to see how well you can kind of piece things back together to make it look like it's still functioning as intended.
Could I just cast illusory objects? Like to make it look like it's fine?
The entire image, blah, blah, blah. The object duration is... If you want to sustain that, it'll last for 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'll let you...
That'll be enough. That'll be enough. I just need to go down there and check around for some stuff real quick, and I'll come back up.
If you want, you can use 2 levels of your first level spell to make it last for an hour. And it'll actually do a much better job of being like the illusion you seek to create.
Alright, that's fine. Let's do that.
Alright. Nice.
There we go.
There you go. Now you make it look like the illusionary... The door has been unfuculated So now
Yes,
you
yes.
enter into it and begin to descend the stairwell into the basement of the building. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Desi, you are still up front giving kind of like your introduction, and by this point everyone has passed the things that around that, you know, some people have played with the hat and done some goofy things with the cantrip that you've bound to it, and others have taken time to look at the explosives, but eventually they've made their way back to the front of the classroom. And Ilswari is just kind of like, as they're doing that and exploring it and stuff, he just leans over to you and he says, "There's some gentleman you've illustrated over here. Timatome, was it?"
Yeah. Tim Timatone. Yeah. What about him?
Do you happen to know how old he is?
No, the only thing I know for sure is that he's a double-crossing son of a bitch.
Back in my earlier adventuring days, before I ran this academy, I do recall encountering a fellow who had a similar appearance and gait to him. He wasn't named Timatome, though, but he was somebody that I had gone on adventures with before, and I do remember the similar outcome of him stealing something from another party member and disappearing for some time. Although his hat was, shorter back then.
Yeah, it does only grown with age. We got fine wine.
I see. Well,
A fine wine of deception.
I might be able to give you a little bit of insight into this fellow after the lesson is completed here today.
Yeah,
It's
yes, that would
not-
be really helpful.
It's been many years, but it might help you create some points of reference.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that, actually.
He nods his head and turns to the children and says, "Does anyone have any other questions for Desi?" Newt, Snooty, anything from you guys, or are you done being the class clowns?
No
To
questions.
guide.
I'm good. Sorry.
Okay.
Headset went brr.
Alright, he nods and says,
I still have a question for you, doll.
"Oh, yes, absolutely. What was it?"
You said you wanted a question from one of your students. Does that mean we're not one of your students?
Well, I'd say that now that you are present here and learning in this space with all of us for the time being, yes, you are one of my students.
Then why did you say you wanted a question from one of your students if only your students are in this room?
Fucking. As he narrows his eyes at you and raises a finger to speak, I think now is a perfect time for us to take our break. So, to those of you watching from home, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick little 15-minute break to take care of some bio, use the washroom, stretch our legs, get some water, get some snacks, etc., etc. And when we return, we will see what comes of the second half of today's lesson at Tarandarok Academy. So far, tolerances have been stretched, but not broken, so I guess they're on a good track record, but...
It's important to stretch before you go on a marathon. Yeah.
It is.
It's pretty good. Uh-huh.
It is. But for the time being, if you guys could give some follows and some love to the people who are involved in this project listed there in the Goblinz command, I would really appreciate it. And if you guys are interested in supporting our project, every increment of $10 received across all revenue sources basically goes towards increasing the bullshit pool by 1. So every 50 points it goes up by, we will also be reaching stretch goals that will be essentially unlocked, and we'll have something to display, like a fun little graphic for everybody eventually as well. I just haven't had the opportunity to put it together. But for the time being, we're going to take our little break, and we'll see you guys soon. So see you all in about 15 minutes. Goblins, say goodbye
Yeah,
for now.
see you in a bit.
See you
Bye for
soon.
now.
Talk about
Oh.
torture.
Everybody gets 2 XP.
You're welcome.
Sigh. Welcome back, everybody. It is good to see you all again. Here is all the links. Here is the bullshit. Follow things, and if you have it to spare, we would love money. There we go. All done. It's ready to get back into the adventures.
I got you completely off topic now. Your brain is not working properly, and
All right,
this is gonna go super smooth. I am so excited.
bring, it's school time. All right. Wait, we don't want that music. We want this music. There we go.
Sorry, I had to run all the way back to my desk.
No
What's
worries.
cock and ball torture since it's school time? What?
Just take your 2 XP.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, so Effie, that makes it 4, okay? Pat, pat.
Ah, excellent,
Wait,
excellent.
does that mean we don't get to learn about whatever cock and ball torture is?
Yeah, no, this doesn't seem like biology.
Giant metal bird in sky. What is cock and ball torture?
As you all sit in the classroom, awaiting the next stage of the lessons at hand, the children are excited to have these interactions with you. They're curious and that you have all set at least a decent tone for them of an introduction. So, as much as Ilsoari seems vexed at your presence here, things seem to be on a good track. So, now with the 3 of you returned to your desks and Dixie's still nowhere in sight, he is going to resume the lesson at hand. So, now that you are all seated at your desks and the children are all eagerly awaiting their opportunities to learn, Ilsoari brushes the illustrations off of the chalkboard with like a I guess, chalk eraser thing. I don't know what the fuck would be a yield chalk eraser, but...
It would be a damp cloth.
Yeah, probably. Alright, he uses a damp cloth and wipes away the chalk. And he turns back around and says, right, well, now that we've had that cultural exchange and we've all met our new comers to the class, I hope you all can join me in welcoming our 3 goblin. It's been a while. Your little red friend hasn't... They must have been very injured. You're the one with the hat who said they needed to go to the nurse's office?
That's not
Frank?
that is Frank. If you say that in front of them, they would get very upset. So please do not upset them. Thank you.
They're probably
see.
doing they're probably causing trouble. They like to do that a lot. They were not raised in goblin society, so they're a lot more, human-like.
It's a little tragic, really.
Yeah.
As you guys are having this conversation, there's a little knock, knock, knock on the door. And it opens a little ways, and the nurse, a woman you all don't recognize, leans in and looks towards Elisari, and Elisari looks a little, like, confused at her presence. And she leans in a bit more and sees the 3 other goblins in the class. And she's like she's doing the meme with the woman with, like, all the math floating around her head. She's, like, looking at the 3 of you, and then looking to him. And then he looks at her, and then they have, like, a brief moment of exchange. Oh, I totally forgot. Before we continue this as well, I just gotta quickly bring up, this is... Oh god, it's so large.
That's what she said.
But she said.
Oh my god. This is how Snooty wrote her own name. I think it's very... it's very apt. Quite stellar, if I do say so. So if anything, I feel like this would be Snooty's official signature should it ever be required.
Oh, 100%.
You know, you gotta give that signature that really stands out to become a celebrity, and I think this has what it takes.
No, it is not artistic liberties. That is how you do the writing. Can't believe this.
Anyways, but the nurse, she just kind of like is like gesturing over near the door, and El Soari looks like he's like very distracted by it, and he goes, you know, just give me one moment here. Somebody needs my attention. And he starts going over to where the nurse is. Is there anything any of you guys want to be doing in the classroom while they're having a conversation?
Oh, I'll pass around the bug corn for students to try some.
Steve takes
I
some
love bug corn.
and just happily like
Yeah, there's nothing more I like better than bugs.
The grubs are the best one because they have more juices.
Yeah,
Oh.
Steve reaches into the bug corn and is just like, and he's like being really greedy about it, and then suddenly, like with his mouth completely full of like writhing insects, he just looks over at Terrence and holds it out in his direction, and he just kind of like goes pale in the face and, you know, I'm good. I had plenty earlier.
They're slimy yet satisfying.
Terrence like kind of looks like he's holding back, throwing up, and goes, "I'll take your word for it." Steve like nods and holds it towards you, Snooty.
Any of my wife's bugs? That is so rude. I thought peoples were supposed to have manners.
Goes in, fistful of bug corn, and just stares daggers at Terrence.
Terrence is feeling real awkward right now. He's literally surrounded by goblins.
Disrespecting my wife.
Snooty, you're like eating handfuls of it and holding it right now. Who do you pass it off to next?
She looks over at Griffey and goes,
Would you like some bug corn?
Griffey looks amused, and he just thinks about it for a minute and he goes, I'll try it.
See, that is how you do it.
stares more daggers at Terrence.
Bullying this fucking kid.
Listen, if I can't beat them up, I can bully them a little bit, alright? Listen.
Meanwhile, Desi, are you trying to overhear the conversation over here, or are you just like...
I'm trying to listen in.
Alright, give me a perception roll, please.
Yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, perception over here. Yeah, that was a natural 20.
Yeah, you hear the entirety of this whole conversation.
You want to know what's fucked up? I didn't know that was an actual natural 20. I just rolled it and assumed I rolled low.
Oh.
Because I had to tap back to look at it.
That's hilarious.
You just went, yeah, that works. They were like, huh? What?
You called it. Yeah, so
Okay,
leaning over, Desi,
great.
you can overhear their conversation where basically what it outlines is the nurse says that one of the a strange red-skinned goblin wearing a big hat basically came into the office and said that they had hurt themselves. And she healed them and was like, why is there a goblin in the academy? And before she could get any answers out of them, the goblin ran away into the building. And she's like, are they supposed to be here, like, doing a lesson with you? Gesturing to the other goblins in the room. And El Soari basically outlines, like, yes, she's supposed to be back here if she's feeling better. Like, where did she go? And she says, I don't really know. Like, she just asks about who runs this place and then disappeared. And he just kind of sighs and asks her to go take a look for her and see if she can bring her back to the classroom. And she nods and then excuses herself.
Oh no.
Alright, anything you want to do about that, or are you good, Desi?
Yeah, I'm just gonna lean over and talk to Newt about it. I'll be like,
Dix went to the nurse's office and now is missing.
He's probably causing trouble.
Yeah, probably.
Alright.
There's Bughorn.
Teacher, can I go look for Dix? She's probably gonna cause trouble if we don't find her.
Yeah, by the way, Newt is also a deputy, so this is a legal matter.
Meanwhile, Griffey's gonna
Truancy
try...
is a serious crime.
Griffey does not have a good time with the bug core. He takes a handful of the gross, squirming live things in there and puts it in his mouth and tries to chomp down, and as soon as the first bite goes through, he just... and just, like scoops it all out of his mouth onto his desk. And looks, like, kind of defeated, and goes, I don't think that's... I think that's more of a goblin snack. He, like, looks over at you, Studi.
Oh, well, you tried it, and at least that's better than being rude, Terrence.
Yeah, Terrence.
Meanwhile, Sawari, looking over at Newt, says, Look, I'm sure your friend is perfectly fine. There's not much that they can get into here in the academy anyways. The nurse is going to look for her. I'm sure it'll be fine. We can continue with the lesson.
Alright, but if they do anything illegal, you did obstruct the justice.
He's still obviously having trouble adjusting to the fact that you're literally a fucking deputy. And sighs and says, yes, Newt, if I will take full responsibility if it turns out that your friend Dixie was not operating within the law, but I feel there's very little that she could accomplish in this building that I would not be able to forgive as the owner of the property.
That is a strange echo that I heard throughout the school.
That was really weird.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Goblin intuition is kind of weird.
Elsari just kind of sighs and he says, anyway, if there's nothing else, I can continue our lesson here.
Yeah, Terrence!
Yeah, Terrence. Always interrupting. Wow.
The little girl behind you, Kiko, just goes, yeah, Terrence, and you peed yourself that one time, we all remember.
Yeah, Terrence.
Oh, that's good, that's good. Yeah, pissy tea, and they all, like, start laughing.
Little baby man.
Little baby man doesn't know how to not piss himself.
Steve, like...
These are like 20-year-old adults that are just endlessly making fun of this child. He's gonna start crying.
This is amazing.
And Steve,
You
like...
can't get away with this.
Steve getting, like, really into it and having no context of what's appropriate or not, he just turns around and he's like, yeah, I'll bite your fucking nose off!
Good one, Steve!
Whoa, Steve, actually, that's not cool, dude.
No, he wasn't gonna really do it, right, Steve?
I don't know.
Steve?
I don't know.
Steve, are you cool, Steve?
Steve, you weren't gonna really do it, right?
Steve?
Steve?
Let me roll for his intelligence.
Steve, we don't bite people's noses off. That's against the law.
Steve, you're not gonna...
You can
you're not
only
gonna be a weirdo, right?
You can only bite noses off in self-defense.
Oh, okay.
You weren't gonna do that, were you, Steve?
No, yes.
Oh, Steve.
Steve. No,
Terrence
stop.
just
No,
changes
don't bite, don't. Hey! Terrence, get back in your seat.
That is a deputy and my wife. You should probably listen to the police.
You can't just. It's suspicious when you get up and move away from the law.
That is very true.
Now, Steve, you cannot bite Terrence's nose off unless they come at you and it's in self-defense.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
I'm gonna give another roll for. Alright. Steve, like, the two neurons in his head finally make contact, and he just kind of, like, has a moment of realization as he shakes his head up and down and just goes, right. Don't bite noses unless I'm attacked.
Yes. Good job, Steve. Here.
Throws a bug snack.
As he's chewing it, he just points to Terrence and he's like, we're fighting after school.
No, that's threatening. You can't instigate fight. He has to instigate. Then you bite nose.
You are going to beat me up after school?
Terrence, answer the man. Terrence, it's rude not to answer the person's question.
He just runs out of the fucking room.
I don't think Terrence is going. I think that's a no. I'm gonna take that as a no.
He just comes blowing out of the classroom and runs away. And Elisari is just like has his arms folded watching this with contempt. And he just goes,
Typical Terrence.
if you could all perhaps stop harassing my students long enough for the lesson to complete today.
We weren't harassing them, they were harassing us.
Yeah.
Which one? What was the girl that, like, joined in? What'd you say her name was?
Kika.
Yeah, like Kika knows, right, Kika?
Kika, like, nods her head and says, that's right. Terrence was being really rude, and we were just putting him in his place. And a bunch of the other kids are, like, nodding their heads.
See? It was just Terrence being typical Terrence, you know?
Yeah, and Kika just goes, like, it's no wonder he pees his pants. Like, they all start laughing.
Yeah, and not even on purpose. Like, if he did it on purpose, it wouldn't be a laughable thing. But since he does it on accident, that's kind of embarrassing. Like, cool people piss themselves.
I think she's losing credibility.
This has started a discussion amongst the children that is going in a direction Elisari does not like. So he just throws his hands out and creates this, like, effect of, like, fizzling lights that go out over the class. And he goes, alright, that's enough. Everybody quiet down. Ah, what a day. So, I'm going to interrupt what we were learning about before in these afternoon classes so that we can focus on something a little bit more appropriate for teaching our new goblin friends here about how that they can find their best place here in Sandpoint. So he gestures to he takes out like a long like stick, like a pointer stick essentially, and he points at everybody and he points at the blackboard where it's empty and he says, "Who here can tell me some things they think would be really important to know living in Sandpoint?"
You just gonna raise her hand.
She looks a little like curious, or he looks a little curiously at you and goes, "Please, by all means."
Keep an eye out for Terrence's shenanigans.
I don't think that really qualifies as relevant.
I don't know, I think you're outvoted.
I got one.
Yes, Schnitty?
You gotta be nice to everyone to be here.
Nice as a stretch. I think what's more important to live in Sandpoint is that you don't do anything actively mean or violent towards other folks in the town. You don't have to like everybody. It would be impossible for everyone to live in this town if we all
Yeah,
had to like
Terrence
each other.
lives here.
God.
We're just ripping and tearing into the fucking kid. He's not even
Poor
here.
kid. He's gonna grow up to be like one of the future Ark's villains.
We're gonna have a fucking time skip. We've been living in Sandpoint. We still haven't gotten our citizenship. It's been like 12 years. We're getting really old. Fucking Terrence comes out of the shadows. I've been waiting for my revenge. It's just Bugcatcher Andre comes in as a cameo, and he's the voice of Terrence, but as with the voice of Eugene.
I mean, to be fair, if at the rate that Newt keeps losing years, she might not be any older.
Yeah, Desi's actually gotten younger.
Yeah, Newt's only gotten younger.
That's true, but Ilsari just says...
Wait, no, Snooty's only been getting older. Fuck, Snooty will die before then.
No. It's okay. You get to be the the mature wife.
For a minute there, I thought you were gonna
Fucking
say
Goblin Cougar.
Yeah, Goblin Cougar.
For those of you who are confused about what we're talking about, basically every time somebody uses one of the goblin bullshit pool points, that goblin gets a roll on the goblin bullshit table. So it's a D100 table I wrote myself, and basically it's a random roll, and whatever happens affects the goblin who uses the reroll point. One of those is the goblin ages 1 year, and one of those is the goblin gets younger by 1 year. Sorry, that's the right term. So that is what they're talking about. We've had a couple of humorous results on the goblin bullshit pool thus far. But as Ilsoari is basically pointing at the blackboard and he has the chalk in hand, he goes, "Alright, I think we can condense this down more into tolerance. Now, can anyone tell me what tolerance means?"
What is toddler ants?
Fuck my life. He points his pointer at Desi and says, "Desi, would you have any input on the word?"
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please, for me so I understand it fully?
Yes, he points to the word he wrote on the blackboard, which is tolerance, and he says, "What is tolerance?"
The thing that, Terrence doesn't have. But tolerance generally means that you are understanding and sort of empathetic to somebody else's behaviors, and you try your best to sort of you coexist with an opposing idea. It's like if, my favorite color was blue, but Newt's favorite color was green, and Newt was like, "Hey, I want to have a lot of green in our room." And I'd be like, green is my least favorite color. But, I like Newt a lot, so I will be tolerant to the color green.
He nods and says, "A bit in depth for perhaps some of the children, but yes, very accurate description in general sense. So, tolerance is what we need to learn in order to coexist with one another in the same space. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean," he draws the word nice and circles it, "that you have to be nice to everyone, but it does help." Now, we've established that tolerance is something that these goblins are going to need to understand to live in our town. And it's also something that we will need to learn to allow them to live with us. I can only imagine, years from now, what it'll look like when there are more than a handful of goblins in this space. And we'll need to be ready for that.
Yeah, years from now.
Yeah.
Looks, starts shift the eyes.
Yeah, and Newt looks back and forth at like Desi and Snooty.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, years from now.
So many years.
So meanwhile, as he continues the discussion about this like educational approach to what essentially has come down to goblin sensitivity training, I suppose. Dixie, you are in the lower half of this building now, and I can go ahead and change the tone of the music.
Why are you changing the tone of the music? What do you mean?
Because it's a different space. It's a little
There.
different.
I was teasing.
It's a little shifty. I think this one will work. Let's try it. All right. So you're underground now, and as you descend into this space below, walking it. Thank you, Var. As you descend down this stairwell, down into the depths of the building, and begin to explore the space, this descending spiral staircase opens up into like a rather... It's kind of dusty, but it looks like somebody has made an effect to make like a very fancy-looking entryway to the lower parts of this building. And as you sneak your way down, are you trying to be stealthy about this, by the way?
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead and give me a stealth roll, please.
I struggle every time to find the right page.
Do you wish to keep that?
We'll live with it. We need to get to 500 goblin points eventually.
Alright. Just really hooked on that pizza
This is for you, pizza party!
My internet shit itself right after you said that, so it looked like you said this is for you, pizza party, and then the stream went. But as you walk down into this space, trying to be quiet about it, it's you know, you can hear the distant sounds of the building above, but overall, it's pretty musty down here, and the lighting is pretty low. Like, there's a couple of, like, empty torch sconces, and a couple of lanterns that look like they're illuminated through some kind of, like, faint, persistent ambient glow that you're not entirely sure of the origin of. But as you progress further into this space, the area underneath kind of leans out, or winds out into this open... It's kind of like you're in a museum. You walk into this space and there's a bunch of dusty cabinets and glass displays with all kinds of weird like items and objects scattered around that look like they've been put on display, and a lot of it looks like it needs a severe cleaning. And from there you can basically see leading off, there's a hallway that goes to the left and a hallway that goes to the right from that sort of museum at the end of it. So what do you want to do in this space?
I want to look for, like, okay, so I want to look for like the deed to the building.
Yeah.
It worked once before, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, that's my hope, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So, if you are going to be going down into that space and looking around like that, then are you going to completely ignore anything in the displays? Like you're working on a time limit and trying to figure out where the best route is to go.
Basically 100%. Like this stuff is all neat and all, but it'll all be mine once I am in control. All right, so that can wait. That's for later.
All right. All right, fair. So, as you continue to explore into this space, you basically have a choice. Do you go down the left hall or the right hall?
It's a fucking text-based adventure. I'll go down the right hall, baby.
All right, chat, can I get an exclamation mark D20, please? Just anybody in the chat, just all one word, exclamation mark D20. And that will roll a D20, and then I will use the result of that D20 to determine something. Excellent. That is a 13. All right. So as you continue down this hallway, eventually it brings you to what appears to be a couple of different doors, and one of them looks like it has a little legible, common, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a plaque, like a little nameplate that basically just says Ilisari Gandithus, like headmaster, on it.
I'm gonna break in.
All right.
Wait. I'm assuming since the door is locked, this one's probably unlocked, right? I don't have to break it, do I?
It's locked. Yes, the door leading into Elisari's room is locked. So if you want to get into it, you'll have to either use your crowbar again or something else.
Are there any nearby, is it just the door? Is there a window or something, with blinds over it or something like that?
Nope, just
maybe
a
I could open.
solid door. Unless the only way you'd be able to find out if this room has an exterior window is if you went outside the building.
Asking, I don't know, I was more so asking I don't know, some of those doors tend to have little windows on them.
Oh, fair. No, this one is just literally a solid full wood door.
Well, that sucks.
Is there anything
I'm reading something really quick.
Okay.
This is weird.
What are you reading?
I'm reading Illusory Creature right now to see if I can communicate with it, but it seems to be less of I can communicate through it, but I cannot communicate with it.
Are you
which sucks.
trying to see if you can put your illusionary creature under the door to
Yeah, I was definitely trying to do that, yeah.
Let me
get a little scout in there.
Illusionary creature it generates the appropriate sound spells, blah. Yeah, it only seems to outline it as you can speak through it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about being able to project yourself through it.
God damn it. That would have been really cool. I have no other uses for the spell. I guess I'm breaking in with the crowbar again.
All right. Another athletics roll with fortune. Unfortunately, this one is a much sturdier door, and all you really managed to succeed in doing, unless you want to call goblin bullshit.
Goodbye, pizza party.
You gotta say it.
Oh wait, that was without fortune.
Yeah, roll that again, and we'll pick the highest of the two. Well.
Oh.
No. Now you smell like shit. The goblin who called
Maybe
for
the
bullshit.
smell is going to disgust the door enough to open and let me through.
I'm gonna have to give a no there. The goblin who called for bullshit smells overwhelmingly horrid to any creature within 15 feet. Each creature that smells this goblin must immediately make a DC 10 fortitude save or immediately vomit from the stench. This effect lasts for an hour. So, Dixie, for the time being, you're without a key, and your crowbar hasn't worked, and you have no lockpicks or magical means of accessing the room. So what do you want to do?
Damn.
Do you want to give that some thought while I go back to the classroom?
I'm gonna look through my spells while you do that, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Alright. So, we return once more to the classroom at hand. And Elisari addresses the rest of the class and continues. Now, living in Shanpoint does require a lot of tolerance, but living here is also something that people are going to need to be able to do in a productive manner. Now, not everyone who lives in the town does that, and that's a conversation for another day about my own policies I'd like to enact in this town. But can anyone else tell me what they think these goblins might benefit from doing in Sandpoint? And one of the kids raises their hand and says, not looking like goblins. And he, folds his arms. And says,
That is mean. We can't stop looking like ourselves.
Told her.
I mean, some of us can.
You're not there!
He points to the blackboard. What is the word on this board? Tolerance. Right. No.
Which kid said that?
This kid over here.
It's in your name.
I'm gonna look
Wow.
I'm gonna look at that kid and be like, "You're being a real Terrence right now."
He looks a little crestfallen and goes, sorry, I just thought that it would be easier for them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them being the way they are. It's just sometimes people feel more comfortable if you look more like them or kind of dress just similar and stuff, I guess. And he looks like kind of like he's shuffling his foot like, oh, I did a stupid. And Elsari just kind of sighs and says, I understand. Sometimes it's good to... He takes the piece of chalk and he writes down, assimilate. I'm regretting giving him this action. So he writes down the word. And he points to you guys, the goblins, and he says, do any of you know what assimilate means?
Assimilate. I can't.
You eliminate an ass?
Steve just looks at you and like shakes his head up and down, and he just goes, yeah, ass destruction.
High five, Steve.
Desi, any input from you on this lesson?
No. Mm-mm. I'm just, I'm gonna write down in my scientific journal and just be like, tolerance is in low supply.
He like, all the kids look at him, like, not knowing. Oh yeah, Cuber, you're right. Shit, Steve Okay, Steve is saying everything in Goblin then, I guess. So, and has basically just been playing off of Newt. He doesn't understand Common, I gotta remember that. So he's just kind of yelling shit out in Goblin, and people are like, what the fuck is wrong with this Goblin? So he looks at...
Oh, the Newt's been just translating everything to him.
Okay, perfect. Newt, you've been the translator for Steve's statements.
And I've been, every time someone says something, I'll just repeat it to Steve so he knows.
Right. Perfect. So Ilsari, he just kind of nods and says, I understand it's a big word. Essentially, what assimilation means is that if you are going to live in a space, you become more accommodating to the way that things are done. You start to do the same things that the people there do. You start to learn how to exist with the people in the same space. It's a method of becoming more likable and relatable to your environment, and also learning to live within the way things are done in a space. These goblins, for instance, I would hazard a guess and say that Desi here, pointing to you, you have done the most assimilation in your history.
Yeah?
Can you give these children an example of something you learned to do to assimilate?
Oh, yeah, very, very easy. Smile without showing too much teeth. Turns out people have this deep-seated primal fear of things with sharp teeth, and goblins have sharp teeth. I could easily bite somebody's fingers off. So, it is very intimidating, even when not trying to do so, if you smile like this. And Desi's just gonna like pull her gums back and just like horror movie smile.
So you show
And
everyone
then-
your like big sharp teeth.
Uh-huh.
And then she's gonna relax her face, and she's just gonna smile a little bit, just a little bit of teeth.
And then you see, this is much more normal because it does not go, yes, that is, a vicious monster full of teeth. It goes, oh, that is a pleasant smile. The other thing I learned is eye contact. Because you guys are usually much taller. So, finding the correct distance to meet somebody and talk is important. Otherwise, you just hurt your neck.
Asari nods his head and says, that is a perfect example of assimilation. This brings us to the method of what you assimilated with, and he writes out, compromise. Now, when we compromise, it's not always to the better of our personal choices, but if you compromise with others, often you'll find that you can cohabitate better. Best example that Desi has given there is nothing wrong with the way she smiles. When she goes with her big sharp teeth there, that's personally nothing that I'm bothered with, but I've spent a lot of years on the road, and I used to be quite the adventurer before these days, as you all are aware, by my long run-off stories.
Newt raised his hand.
Yeah, yes, Newt?
What? Did you take an arrow to the knee?
No, I took an old to the everything. I'm old, Newt.
Okay.
Yes. It makes it difficult for me to go out and have adventures when I have trouble getting out of bed in the mornings.
Steve, he's an old man.
Steve, nods his head up and down. You're not entirely convinced Steve knows what either of those words mean. But he's very eager to agree with you, Newt.
The words that Newt will use in Goblin to describe to say old man was near death.
Steve leans over and he says in Goblin, which nobody else can understand. He leans over and he goes, "Does that mean we can eat him soon?"
No. That's another.
Newt raised his hand.
Yes, Newt?
Steve has brought up a good point that I think is fitting with the subject of class.
What is it?
So, in Goblin culture, someone like you who is near death, means that we can eat you when you pass away, but in human society, you frown upon eating people's bodies. So we compromise by not doing it?
Very good, Newt. That is correct. While your culture may encourage the consumption of the dead, and other cultures out there definitely do, we have a certain sort of ritual that is often the burial of our dead in this town.
Wasteful, I think, is the word you're looking for.
He chuckles a little bit and says, "Aye, some could see it as such, but it's important to respect." He takes the thing and writes down culture. In different cultures, we have different ways of approaching ceremony, religion, all that kind of stuff. He points to you, Snooty, with his stick. Snooty, could you give us perhaps some examples of goblin culture that wouldn't work very well in Sandpoint?
Snooty, baby pet.
I was about to say that actually. You peoples don't put your young or the babies in a pit like we do. You see, when a goblin has a baby, we put it in the baby pit and they will fight to survive. Only the strongest leave, or the most wittiest.
He nods his head a little grimly and says, "I remember hearing about this sometime in my travels. Yes, that's a perfect example." And he just writes "Goblin Baby Pit" on the on the chalkboard and points to it and says, "Now, children, would you enjoy being thrown into a pit to fight to the death to see which of you are allowed to become adults?" And they look at each other like, And he goes, "Yes. So, using that information, we can understand that the Goblin Baby Pit," as he enunciates and points at it, "is perhaps not an idea that will work for everyone in Sandpoint. However, if more goblins move into Sandpoint, how do we deal with the fact that these goblins might continue to have a Goblin Baby Pit?" Do any of you want to interrupt, or
Newt's gonna lean. Newt's gonna lean
one in a
forward.
house
Yeah,
and
maybe
keep them there.
outside of the town. So that humans don't have to see the Goblin Baby Pit.
Ah, that's a very good idea. However, if all of the goblins are outside of town, that can often be interpreted as, can anyone tell me?
No, just the baby pit outside.
He nods and says, "Yes, but the more of goblin culture and the way you interact with this town is done outside of the town," takes up the chalk and he writes down, "that can often become segregation." As he writes it down on the chalkboard.
What does that mean?
Does anyone here know what segregation means?
Are we having goblin racism's history?
I know what the segregation is.
He gestures to you, does he?
Yeah, it's when you separate things based on a pre-existing condition, such as you don't want to mix saltpeter, acid, and gunpowder. So you have to segregate them into their own classifications and containers based on their needs. Unfortunately, usually segregation in a cultural sense means that you're usually taking something that is a cultural trait and then trying to separate it from the other things. Not my favorite, got to say. Especially, when like I walk into town, right? And then they're like, oh, hey, get out of our town because, you ever tried to get the sandwich in the swamp? It's pretty bad.
He nods his head and says, yes. Now, if we were to allow goblins to live in Sandpoint, and we began segregating them, based on the history of how we have interacted with goblins before, thanks to the raids on Sandpoint many years prior, do you think that that would be a good decision? And the kids are like, some of them are like, probably not, no.
I don't think it would be a good decision to segregate. I think if you're going to have a town, you might as well just let everybody be the same.
He nods his head and says,
But the
yes.
baby pits are tradition, though, does he?
He points
that's fair.
He points right at you, Snooty, and says, exactly. Some things are difficult to overcome because of, and he takes the thing and says, Engels, thank you very much for the raid, and also traditions. These are pre-founded notions in cultures and settings.
Wait, does he like raids? Was the goblin raid a good thing?
Oh, fuck off. But yeah, it's Engels. Engels? Thank you so much for the raid. We appreciate that. We were just in the middle of doing Goblins Go to School, and I am teaching the goblins a very important lesson about cultural tolerance.
Segregation and racism.
Correct. Because that is a theme that we have been dealing with in this entire campaign, ongoing, albeit comedically. And so thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoy, and whatever you're getting up to, let us know in the chat, and we'd love to hear about what... I assume it was also D&D, but if it wasn't, let us know what you're getting up to. We are not very verbally interactive with chat consistently when we do these broadcasts, but we will respond in typing. Meanwhile, however, as Ilisari continues to elucidate on tradition, we go back to Dixie, Dixie, have you figured out how you want to approach this situation going forwards?
Yeah, I'm just coming back upstairs. This door has confounded me.
Bested for now, but
I will go back to it later.
All right. So where do you head to? Do you return to the classroom?
Well, I have secured my route.
Okay.
And I need to come back with the necessary tools and gear. Persona 5ing this shit.
Oh. All right. Are you gonna hunt down those tools and gear, or are you? Okay, you slam the doors open.
I sort of glare over at Ilsari. Ilsari? How the fuck do you say that?
Ilsari. You can just call him the headmaster.
So
and you just sit down at his desk.
and then I look up at him, waiting for class.
Everyone stops the lesson just to watch Dixie come into the room, like, with such flair, and then you just walk over and sit down at the desk. And Ilsari just crosses his arms while holding his stick, and he goes, Miss Dixie, is your injury feeling better?
For now.
She. I'm gonna roll. Alright, he doesn't seem to really care to elaborate on what he's thinking. He says, no, you're more than welcome to stay seated there if it's better for you to learn from, but Do you think perhaps it
Thanks.
might... He takes a deep breath.
It has a not as comfortable chair though, because I took the chair.
That's true. Newt is sitting in the headmaster's chair.
I don't care. It's the position of power that I'm
All
at.
right. So he just kind of sighs and says, very well. And he points with his pointer again and says, traditions. These...
Excuse me.
Yes, Newt?
How come when I sat there you made me leave, but when Dick sits there, you don't make her leave?
Shut up, Newt.
He sighs and says, because if I spend all day making sure that goblins are sitting in the right place, then I'm not going to be able to teach anyone anything.
Doesn't seem like you're making the rules apply to everyone the same.
Pulls out a notepad and writes something down.
He sighs and says,
Continue.
You make a good point. That brings us into the next stage of our lesson here, as in traditions are often established to give people a source of reference, a place in society and culture. And he writes out, and in saying what you're saying, Newt, he writes out equity. And he says, it is important that a certain level of equity is afforded to those who take up traditional positions in a culture. Now, you said, pointing to you, Snooty, that you're the wife of the chieftain of your village, yes?
It's because I became one of the most important Amz Goblinz, and impresses him very much so, even though I am so ugly in goblin standards.
I see. And not only that, but you claim these two here are also your wives? Pointing to
They
Desi.
are my wives, yes. It would be considered in your culture, concubines?
Kika behind you
Or
raises her hand.
Porcupines?
What's a kinky bean? Oh, sorry, just like sighs and says, that's a subject for another day. What we need to stay focused on is the point I'm trying to establish with this, is that, Snooty, would you say that because you are the wife of the chief, and also married to these two over here who I imagine are influential members of Goblin society in some degree, you would say that you are privileged, yes?
She kind of furrows her brow and she thinks about it.
I don't know.
If there were things
We
you
had
did...
to go and do things. I was very low on the goblin food chain. You can ask Desi, because Desi's from our original tribe. As Newt and Dixie are not from our tribe.
I see. And he points to you and basically says, so you're saying that once you married the goblin chieftain, you were put in a much better place of power. You had more things you could do that the other goblins couldn't say no to, yes?
No,
No?
we weren't in there long enough. We announced it, but that's about it. And then I came here.
I see. Interesting. So you're telling me that it was a very brief wedding and then you were sent to Sandpoint?
We didn't even have a...
Stares at hyperventilating, stares at Desi.
Wait, we didn't have goblin wedding. I dressed up and did... Desi!
Yeah.
Help!
With what exactly?
Having... am I married, Chief?
Good. Okay, let me break it down for you. Marriage is usually a union that
Just
sort of
gonna
has
start
like.
crying.
You are still married just because you have not had the wedding. It's you just gonna do the wedding when you get back.
Yeah.
You're
The
still
marriage is an
married.
agreement between two people. The rest of it, it's just it's a thing. You're like secret married. It's not a formal event yet. Just listen. Let me explain something to you. Marriage is a scam. It is a token, but the important marriage is that you two
We're a
agree.
scam to you?
No, that's not the thing. I said the need for a fancy marriage is a scam because it's no. No, that's not how I meant it.
I'm
No,
sorry
stop.
about them. They kind of do this a lot.
No. Listen,
It seems to
okay,
be
let
like a
me
weird
finish.
goblin culture thing.
You don't have to have big elaborate wedding to be married. You have to just have an agreement between two people that love each other.
Do you love us?
Yes.
There's a suspicious gap there.
That was very delayed. Are you sure?
Listen, just because you cannot hear my voice,
Are we just a scam to you?
No, you're not a scam. I'm saying the big wedding thing with like the cake and the flowers that you throw at each other and the rice and the birds. Where did you even get the birds? I'm saying that is the thing because you got to pay lots of money for that. Oh my god, I'm just going to climb up on this desk and then be between you guys.
Sorry, Ilsolari, I think.
Ilsoari. Yes.
Hey Siri. Yeah, that's his name.
Oh my god. I'm just gonna grab each of them and I'm gonna pull them like against me so they can cry on me, I guess. That's not the thing. I love you guys very much. I was saying the big fancy expensive wedding is the scam part. You just have to agree to be married and then bam, you're married. It doesn't need to be all the fancy stuff. Oh my god.
What were you gonna say, Dixie?
I'm just sorry.
But he folds his arms and just looks like he's honestly looks a little bit more fascinated than he is upset or anything at the interruption or the interference. And as he's looking it over, he goes, "No, this is honestly, it's quite fascinating. I've never seen such a dynamic before."
You're kind of a freak.
What?
Says the person that probably was out breaking into things.
There is absolutely zero proof that I did anything.
Were you
I
just
just had to
touching
go to the
Frank in the
bathroom.
hallways?
Are you all right? The nurse stopped in and told me you had been seen to, and it took quite a while between that and when you arrived back here.
If you want to talk to me about it, talk to me about it after class.
They were probably giving brim jobs to Frank.
What's a brim job?
Well, you see, when a person loves
You know
a
what?
hat,
I don't think I
demonstrate.
actually would like to know this right now. Maybe that's a conversation for after the children have retired for the evening. He just sighs and says, "Now, it's very touching, this display of your affections with one another and considerations, but if I may be so bold, could I ask you to take a seat until we finish the
Eyeballed.
lesson?"
Why are you asking us to take a shit?
A seat! Sit
Yeah.
down!
a shit down. Why does he want us to
Yeah,
shut
you're
down?
gonna have to forgive some of these
Shit
words.
in your
This is the
chairs.
first tolerance
Even if we
lesson.
were into that, I feel like it would probably be something that you'd want to talk to us about, like when there's not a bunch of kids
No,
around. 'Cause this
just
is
be
weird.
seated.
Okay,
I
He
Bold.
wants
wanna
us to be
shoot.
shitted.
Is it normal in human culture to change your name to Bold?
That is a pretty bold thing to do, I think.
Oh
I like how I basically have human culture, but they never ask me about anything that is human culture.
my god.
I don't even get a chance to feed them misinformation.
You literally fucked up the entire point until now.
Ah! Dixie the Goblin!
Sorry, just looks defeated and he sighs and says, oh, alright. Let's change the subject. He points to Dixie with the stick that he's carrying and he says, now this one, you mentioned, pointing at Newt, that you thought that it was unfair that Dixie over here is allowed to stay seated at my desk. Even though I personally do not really care at this moment where you're sitting. Yeah. We all know. Shitting, sitting, haha.
I was actually gonna just leave at that time, but then you made a big deal about it. And...
So he points to it. What? I can't figure out how to say it without saying some form of shitting. Anyways, continuing. This one up here, you consider that unfair and unequal. There's no equity in this, yes, Newt?
Yeah.
Right. Well, this all loops back around to why Sandpoint is the way it is. Sandpoint is run by an elected council. We have a system of equity in this town that is used to address systems of inequality. Everyone is not equal, but we can try our best to make sure that we provide equal opportunities for everyone in Sandpoint. Therefore, it does seem likely that even though these goblins come from a different culture, it would be wise of us to allow them to prove that they can live here and perhaps live in harmony, yes? And the children all nod, and they're all kind of like agreeing. And he says, now, can anyone explain to me why they might be worried about goblins living in our town?
Because goblins are murderous bastards by nature, by their way that they've been raised.
He turns to look at you, Dixie.
It's the murderer.
They kill indiscriminately for no reason other than just for fun, it seems like at times.
Says the one that kills indiscriminately.
Why are you saying that?
Cause it's the truth.
It was once and clearly in self-defense.
Newt's gonna do the like points at her eyes and then points at Dix.
Like the I'm watching you gesture.
Yeah. And then like tip the hat a little bit forward.
Is this happening while you're still holding to Desi with tears in your eyes?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So you're taken very seriously. Good. Sorry, looks at you like confused. Like he looks so fucking confused at the way you're talking right now, Dixie, and he goes, pardon me if this is a misinterpretation on my part, but are you not also a goblin?
What does that have to do with anything?
They don't even speak goblin.
Interesting. So you're a goblin that has lived in human society for the majority of your life, then?
Yeah.
So then you would be well suited to working in an ambassadorial role for the rest of goblin kind in this
Oh,
town.
no, she's way more murderous than most goblins.
He looks over at
Why
you,
are
Newt,
you
and
lying?
says, well, I know some humans that are quite more murderous than some goblins I've met too.
I know, I think that's where she learned it.
Shut the fuck up!
You
See
know,
how
Newt,
quick to anger she is?
I know that word that he is saying, ambassador. That's a very important role. That means that Dixie would be very, very, very important Aunt Goblin.
He nods his head to you and
Probably
says,
more important than Chief Wife.
in our town, yes, it would be one of the most important roles. To become an ambassador to the goblins for Sandpoint would probably mean being elected into a position on the town council.
Newt will raise her hand.
Yes, Newt.
I'm already working on that.
Question.
Newt,
If
can
you're
you
an
shut the fuck up?
ambassador, should you be calm or quick to anger and violent?
Well, considering we had Titus on the council for many years, we don't always make the right choices. But
Oh, then she'll be fine.
he nods his head and says, to be quick to anger, or to be as impulsive as your friend here, pointing to Dixie, is not a crime, and not necessarily a reason to not be involved in representing the best of one's race. Although, I will concede, many people do not tend to hold respect for those who cannot hold their emotions in check. It is a difficult situation. However, goblins, to my understanding of the time I've spent abroad, are quite often very impulsive and violent creatures. But they're not always malicious. It really depends on who is leading them. In much of my observation of goblin culture, it's whoever leads a group of goblins that determines how those goblins are going to behave in a given situation. I myself have come into contact with a violent gang of goblins when I was in my 20s, many years ago. And it was only through quick thinking and convincing them that they were not going to benefit from a conflict with myself and my fellows, we resolved the situation without violence. But, I have to admit, due to their low intelligence, I had to use a bit of trickery. In the instance of these goblins, however, I believe you are quite, I suppose, much more intelligent than many goblins I have encountered. So, what this all comes down to is the lesson today in tolerance is understanding that even though these goblins come from a place where they perhaps have learned cultural norms such as, pointing to it, the goblin baby pit, and have, points to the traditions that prevent them from necessarily embracing equality, he points to equity, it is still the purpose of this town and the way it is governed to provide equity to anyone who wishes to be one of its citizens. So, today's lesson in tolerance, gesturing to all the other things that he's written down on the board, I'd like you all to consider every aspect of what we've discussed here today. It may come in handy for all of you to understand why we are allowing these goblins the opportunity to live here, despite some of you having personal experiences that have warranted your residence here permanently as orphans related to goblins. And they're all kind of like talking to each other and nodding their heads and kind of having that exchange. And he says, now, does anyone have any other questions in regards to this lesson before I adjourn today's class?
Can we come back sometime soon for another lesson.
He inclines his head and says, as long as you are willing to be civil in my classroom and obey the rules of this space, you would be welcome anytime.
Yeah, do I have to come back? Because, like, I've already been here. Well, not here, but, like, you know.
All of our classes in this academy are voluntary. Nobody has to attend any of them. Many of these children come here understanding that they are here to improve themselves so that they can better integrate into society. And a couple of these children do not possess the privilege of having parents to rely upon in the lack of an education. And so it is part of what I provide here that these children have the opportunity to educate themselves on anything they so feel that they wish to learn. However, he gestures to the door and opens it with magic. And he says, I'll leave that open door with you to consider whether it's worthwhile to be here for you each and every one of you or not. And until the next time, you have a wonderful evening.
Aw. You know what? That changed my mind. That, you know what? I come back and I'm gonna read books to the kids.
Elisari nods his head and then says, I think that they would greatly appreciate that. And he points to Snooty and Grippy. And he says, now Grippy, now that clash is over, you may resume your lessons with the goblin there on how to read and write, if you so wish. And Griffey turns to you excitedly, Snooty, and is like, okay, we're gonna practice writing your name, if that's okay with you, unless you have other things to do.
I want to practice my name, because one days I got to assign my name on things.
He nods and scooches over, leaving room for you to move your chair over at his desk. And as he does so, a bunch of the kids are now, like, getting up and filing out. They're like, oh my god, yay, you know, school's out. We're gonna go fucking do something we actually want to go do more. And as Ilsari is, like, sitting there, like, happily with his arms crossed, he looks over at you, Dixie, who's come out from behind the desk, and he goes, is there something I can help you with?
I want to talk.
Alright. What would you like to talk about?
Well, first off, I was kind of just... We both know where Freddy went, right?
He looks a little crestfallen, and he says, yes, I was hoping he would be able to remain in Clash, but watching your parents die by the hands of goblins will have that effect on a child.
I want to talk to him.
I could give him that opportunity. Whether he takes it or not is entirely his choice to make.
That's fair.
He nods and says, you have a very interesting history. You've never grown up in a goblin tribe, and you seem to have an innate dislike for almost a sort of... It's like you're a companion of these other goblins, gesturing to them over there, and but he also leans down and he says, but it seems like you have some kind of revulsion for them.
I don't always get along with them. They're not really my people.
And who are your people?
I guess... I don't know.
He takes a moment to kind of, like, kneel down and put his hand on your shoulder. And he just says, I've spent a long time on the road, exploring different places, encountering different dungeons. I'm a student of history, and I have a fascination with other artifacts. But the reason I've retired here and begun teaching the next generation of potential adventurers is Luna. Thank you very much for the raid. Luna Limungla, thank you very much for the raid. We appreciate it. I'm just in a we're in more of a heartfelt moment of roleplay here, so I hope you enjoy it,
Aw.
and we'll get to you in a moment. But thank you for the raid. We really appreciate you. Hope you're having a wonderful night. And if somebody in the chat could shout out Luna Lai, that would be very, very appreciated. And thanks for being here. And I will now continue with this scene. So he kind of gets down on one knee, and he says, "It's difficult to find one's place in the world, and I know what it was like when I was much younger, to never found a home. Wandering abroad, exciting adventures, and enjoying my youth was a wonderful experience, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's really important to find the people that you enjoy those adventures together with, and to build a place of safety together. That is what this town represents. Shanpoint is not like many other places in the world. There is a discernible effort here to make an equal space for those who can inhabit it. It is not always the case, and thanks to recent efforts in the removal of the Scarnettis, I think it may be even easier to accomplish in this town. But if you're struggling with finding connections with these people that you call friends or companions, it might be wise for you to remember that they weren't the ones responsible for whatever problems you have with goblins. It seems like each and every one of them here is earnestly trying to be something more than that history."
Can I be honest with you?
Absolutely.
I broke into the hallway downstairs.
He nods his head, completely unsurprised. And he says, "I've had to replace that lock at least 4 times a month over the past 3 years.
You might want to just get one imbued with magic.
Do you know why I don't try to keep people out of that door?"
You're right, I would have just broken the wall instead.
That's one point. If somebody really wanted down there, they'd get down there. But the second is, there really isn't anything of true value down there anymore beyond the relics of my adventures. What was of any monetary value, I'll be honest with you, I've sold off in the pursuit of finer wines in my old age. It's a hobby of mine that I prefer these days. I don't put a lot of effort into making sure that it's hard to get down there, simply because I want to inspire. I want to help the children of this place and those who come into this building go and seek out artifacts of my days of adventure.
I just, I thought that down there would be something that I could take to learn from how you got to your position.
How I got to my position was I spent a long time out in the world doing everything that I could.
You're just gonna tell me?
Yes. When you get to be my
Why?
age, because I'd like to teach you. And I'd like to teach every creature in this room, because I am old, and I have only a few dozen handfuls of life left before I am dust in the ground. And if I've wandered the world and learned anything to any degree, it's that there is an air of mystery that needs to inspire those who come into places like this, so they finally feel motivated to pursue their own journey. And he puts a hand on your shoulder and he says, "I hope in your journey down into my dusty old cellar of relics, for whatever it was that you were looking down there, gave you some insight into what it is that you would like to be doing with your life."
You're alright, old man.
Hey, did she tell you why she's with us?
Elisari looks over at you, Newt, who is Snooty. I assume you're like balls deep in learning how to write right now. Yes.
Balls deep.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And Newt, you've kind of like moved up and had this conversation. Desi, where are you during all of this, by the way?
Honestly, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna grab a children's book off the shelf
Mm-hmm.
that's very suspiciously about a human kid and their goblin friends.
The callback.
And I'm gonna begin to read to the kids.
Outstanding. So Newt, as you come forward to Elisari, he stands up and just kind of looks at you and says, "No, I don't believe I've been given that information."
She tried to kill us.
He looks over at you, Dixie, completely unsurprised. And says, "You know, I've had a few friends in my past while I was adventuring that started out that way myself."
I almost won. And I wasn't trying to kill them. I was just trying to enslave them to my will.
I see. And how did that go for you?
I am enslaved to their will.
He raises an eyebrow. And he looks over at Newt and says, "And what does this entail?"
I don't know, some sort of magic jumbo. I don't really worry about it. She just does her own thing.
I see. And you are stuck like that, are you?
I don't know how to dispel it.
Interesting. It sounds like you've been afflicted with a curse. Well,
Wait, what did you say? Sorry, my brain shut the fuck off for a second.
you've
Can you
been
just repeat
afflicted
that?
with a curse.
Oh yeah, lots of them.
Well, if it's something you'd like to have dispelled, perhaps I can find somebody here in town who has the power capable of doing so. While a talented mage myself, I do not possess the ability to remove curses.
Some guy, I don't know who he was, but he promised me a bunch of shit, and he gave me a stone that was supposed to help me, and when it broke and I stopped getting the power from it, I lost the battle, and the spell that was there in place to make sure that the loser of the battle had to pay the consequences was done while under the effects of that, and I don't it seems really powerful, and I don't know how to handle that.
He looks down at you and says, "And this gem, this thing that gave you the power, what did it look like?"
Red. It's not large. Very. It wasn't smooth. It was very angular. Like it had been almost like it was like carved from a tree. I know it wasn't carved from a tree. I'm just saying it sort of looks like it has that sort of shape to it.
His brow furrows and he looks a little bit more concerned. And he looks over at you, Newt, and he says, "Have you been given any similar gemstones?"
No.
He looks very thoughtful. And he's thinking a little bit about this situation. he's kind of he looks like he's having like a it can't be kind of recollection into his own mind, like connecting a few dots that only seem to be clear to him. And as he takes that moment to kind of like think about that whole position, he he looks a little concerned and he says, "How familiar are you with the Thassalan Empire?"
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
The Thessalonians were a group that inhabited this region that Sandpoint is founded upon many, many generations prior in the history of Galarian. There are many ancient artifacts associated with them in this region. A lot of abandoned laboratories. There were events that came to pass in our town generations ago, now decades, that were a little bit more than just a standard raid. It was unfortunately at the hand of your people primarily, but they were led by a woman who used to live here, who used to be one of our citizens. They were halted in their machinations by a group of adventurers sometime prior in the past and were brought to justice for well, they nearly brought our town to complete ruin. If it wasn't for the people who had helped us in that day, I don't really know what I could say about it going forward, but are you familiar with the concept of the Rune Lords?
The Rune Lords? No, you're talking about weird shit. I don't understand.
That's more than understandable. Not many people are familiar with the Rune Lords and their time ruling over the Thessalonians. They were great, powerful mages, almost akin to gods, and what that they could control. Relics and remnants of things that they have done in this world still remain and continue to cause problems for all of us here.
What would their relics look like?
Pardon?
Newt's gonna describe the thing she found. I'll leave it up to you to decide what it looked like.
Can you refresh my mind about what the relic that you're describing is?
The thing that Newt broke open and became possessed with.
Ah, yes. So you describe that, and he nods his head and says, "There's a very strong chance that if you've been living in this region, to any proximity to the area, that you did find an old relic of the Thassalonian Empire. They dealt with extremely powerful magics and were very closely tied to binding demonic forces to their will. It was a brutal and power-driven empire where only those with the greatest strengths of magical aptitude were provided opportunity to effect anything, and others were just simply enslaved to their will. It was a long time ago. It is not a culture that anyone would want to emulate these days, in my opinion, but they have left an unmistakable presence across the land with all manner of things that are still as of yet unearthed. During this raid that I had mentioned, led by the woman that had previously been one of our citizens, she had been seeking to use ancient runic powers from the Rune Lords in this area to sacrifice every member of Sandpoint to a greater purpose. She had been actively seeking the death of all of the citizens in the town for purposes that were entirely alien to us. Her motivations, unfortunately, were never fully discerned, as she was slain by the adventurers who had interfered, and unfortunately many goblins had died in that process as well when they took the fortification that they had been using built atop an old laboratory that was being used by this woman. But if you're being handed strange red gems, and you're picking up strange objects that put voices in your head and change the fabric of reality around you, then it's very quite obvious to me that there are forces still at work in this space in service to the Thessalonians. It's food for thought, for sure. And he looks at you like thoughtfully and says, are there any other instances of strange occurrences that have affected you, or odd magical encounters that you might recall recently that have given you any indication of strange powers beyond your understanding?
Sometimes when we do something that's really cool, and everyone loves it, because we're so cool, sometimes something weird might happen.
Oh, the curse!
A curse, you say?
This town is cursed.
You wouldn't be the first to think that. There are things...
You can ask Steve. Steve became existing because of the curse.
He looks at you with, like, a strange, like... His face is just registering disbelief, and he goes, your goblin friend there, when did they come into existence? He does, like,
His name is Steve.
Steve? In Goblin, I'm gonna be like, Steve, how many days has it been?
Steve's not gonna fucking know.
Yeah, he shrugs at you and, like, looks at his hands, like, as if he's trying to figure out how to count.
How many times have you slept?
He, like, holds up 2 fingers.
2 days ago.
Sawari looks like his eyes widen and he says, and what was the catalyst? Why did this Steve of yours come into existence?
It just happens sometimes.
I think one of us did like a sick black flip and he just appeared.
Yeah.
You were just doing acrobatics? There was nothing else that was going on during the time when you were engaging with this creature?
We were eliminating a ghost.
A ghost? Where were you fighting this?
I don't think it's
spectral
related.
entity?
In a mansion.
He looks confused. What mansion was that?
Desi, what mansion was that?
That was
No, it was in the glass place. Sorry.
Go ahead, Desi, speak.
I tried. I opened my mouth and it just made like a squeaky noise. The Kaijutsu Manor.
He looks confused and says, Amiko Kaijutsu's home. What's the
Yeah.
relevance to that building to you?
We own it now.
He looks surprised as fuck. And he goes,
Yeah.
why
It's
did
the
Amiko...
second mansion we own.
Yeah,
What?
actually, that's true. That's the second property that we own.
Oh,
But we're
yes.
not really supposed to talk about that.
The meeting we had about determining the name of your... What was it? Goblushi Manor?
Yeah, Goblinz Manor, yeah. Yeah.
I tried to tell them it was a bad idea, but they didn't seem to understand.
I see. Well, regardless, strange happenings like this are not uncommon in the world, but there is a hidden darkness to the area of Sandpoint. There are things buried deep beneath the earth. That destruction you've seen in the basement of the garrison, no doubt, is just one of many instances that have occurred with things that may or may not be a concern deep below this town. If you're being handed strange gems to facilitate conflict and you goblins have shown up here in such a group, he looks very thoughtful and says, this is something I need to think about. For now, though, is there anything else I can do for you before I excuse myself for the evening?
No, I think that's all the questions I have. Bold.
God damn it. He looks down at you, Dixie, and says, is there anything else I can do for you immediately, or shall I bid you farewell until the next time we are able to speak?
Just talk to that kid for me.
I will. I'll make sure that if he is willing, he has the opportunity to talk to you about his own experiences.
Thanks.
He walks over to where Snooty is currently learning how to write in Common, and he puts a hand on your shoulder, Snooty, and he says, "Would you say my pupil here, Griffey, is doing a decent job of helping you understand the basics?"
Yeah. Look, and holds up that paper that you shared with everyone.
he
I
nods.
wrote it in my name.
He looks bemused at the paper as he holds it up, and he says, "You know, if you're looking to be a celebrity, every time you write your name, I'd recommend you do it exactly in this fashion, even if you learn how to write in other methods with other... this is what's called a signature.
Uh-huh.
Your signature is something that if you'd like to become a celebrity, you probably will want to practice putting on things and giving to people."
Oh. Okay.
He nods, takes
Continues writing that exact way over and over and over and over again.
his hand. Every now and then Griffey has to pull your hand back as you tear into the paper a few times from being too excited, and he's just like no, lighter. Elisari, he nods satisfied at this interaction, and he walks around the desks and he heads over towards Desi, who's you've taken up a seat and you're starting to read the book that you found, Desi. What had we determined was that it was... How do we reconvene on this point without discussing spoilers? I can't remember the exact... Desi, are you okay to speak also, or do you want me to just leave your voice?
No, I'm okay. I just went to go make some tea.
That's fair. I will spare you too much talk at the moment, but Elisari is just going to come up and nod and watching you reading to the kids, and all of these kids over here are sitting around listening to you talk along with Oleg, because Oleg's I've never heard this story before. So these kids are sitting around as you're reading out this story to them, and so Elisari is just kind of watching you with fascination, and he kind of interrupts your reading for a moment, and he says, "You seem very well read and educated for a goblin. Am I safe in assuming that you didn't spend very much time in the company of other clans yourself?"
So, what ended up happening was I was a very young goblin when I was offered to come and explore the world and get an education to help Tim Timidome build his bomb empire.
He nods his
I
head.
also wrote this book.
He looks like a little flabbergasted and goes, "You... what?"
Yeah, I wrote this book. Actually, I wrote a lot of children's books. They're all about the goblins and their human friend. And they get along and they go on wild, wacky adventures. This one is the Owlbear Rodeo. It is a charming, heartwarming story about a young half-orc and his elvish friend who are learning how to rodeo an owlbear.
He looks his eyes widen, and he looks like he's had like his that fucking gif of the head explosion, like brain splody, and he just stares at you for a second and says, that can't be right. I purchased those books from Magnamar. They're truly, you couldn't be the author.
No, I'm pretty sure I wrote this book because if you check the back, I'm pretty sure I wrote the dumb joke of who has the right to bear arms. Get it? Owlbear?
Can you Can you give me a diplomacy roll to see how well you make a convincing argument?
Absolutely. Sorry, this fucking long COVID is like
No worries.
ruined everything.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely gonna. He folds his arms.
That joke made you laugh, Spar, and you know it. Shut up.
He folds his arms thoughtfully, and he just goes, "You know, these books, when I picked them up a few years prior, were actually what started me down the road of having less of a knee-jerk reaction to goblins. They felt like an honest attempt to make a connection with creatures that are often demonized and not seen as worthy elements of society. So, if you're the one responsible for these books," he looks a little thoughtful and he says, "I would be a fool not to allow you to live in this city."
So, Tim Timotone tried to kill me, and it sort of gave me a little bit of brain damage. Specifically, I lost my memories. But now that I am reading this book, I remember being in a different town. And I wrote these books because while I was in school and I was learning things about people, these were the adventures I wished to have. And well, people were suspicious of me and even mean to me. I thought, I had to be the person that I needed at that time for other people. Because that is the only way the world gets better.
He takes a long moment to kind of what you say hits him like a freight train, and he just kind of his eyes look like they're fighting back a tear, and he just kind of nods his head sagely and says, "If you'll excuse me, I'm going to head to the council chambers and make sure my signature is put in ink on that survey, endorsement, whatever." Pardon me.
Aw, thank you. That's really nice. Anyway.
I'm the teacher now!
And as Dixie jumps atop the teaching desk, it declares her dominance of the teaching space, and all of you settle in for the rest of the evening. I think now, because we have reached a good point to spare Effie further throat death, now is a perfect time for us to call an end to tonight's current adventure.
I really apologize, guys. I still got COVID and my voice dies 4 hours in. And doing goblin voice kind of kills it faster.
Yeah, everyone here.
Yeah. You know what would help with that?
What?
Resting!
What is this resting that you call it?
Silly cat.
But well done, everybody. That was actually quite enjoyable. I very much so enjoyed the entirety of that session, front end.
The other sessions, that are not enjoyable.
I love every session we do of Goblins. There's never a night where I don't laugh and enjoy myself when we run this. It's one of my favorite campaigns I've ever run in my entire life, and I enjoy it immensely. So, thank you to those of you who shit us. Shut up, Nailu. Look, my off-brand Connery, who I was trying to make sound not exactly like Connery, because I do a decent Connery, but I didn't want to do...
I'm shitting.
I want to do
I'm going to
exactly.
shit here in front of the whole class. What are you laughing about?
Oh, god damn it. Yes, if those of you who would be so kind, could you please drop some follows on each of these wonderful Twitches that we have here? That would be very kind of you. Each and every one of these people that you see in that list are involved in this project and streamers, so I would really appreciate it. We have a lot of really wonderful art assets that are done by the lovely The Art of Ash here, so you should definitely check her out. And we also have MWBDZ, who is a really talented artist who is responsible for creating a fuck-ass load of portraits and art assets and stuff that we've been working on in this space. And yeah, each and every one of these wonderful people that you see here playing these goblins are all streamers, so make sure that you're following and engaging with them, because they are very fun and wonderful people, and they all are very creative and talented, and I adore them very much so in my life. And then, if you guys like what you see and you like this project, please make sure that if you can afford to, I would really appreciate it if you could support our project by making any financial contributions you're able to afford, if you would be so inclined. There is no obligation, but it does help us a lot. And then lastly, if you like the kind of shit that I'm getting up to and want to help support all kinds of projects and roleplay publications...
Support this man.
What?
I said support this man. Sign up for his Patreon. I'll hunt you down. And I will, I don't know, I'll put more fucking nightstands in your room that you don't know, so I'll just knock on your door at like 5 in the morning when everything's dark. And you're just gonna hit every single one of your toes. Every single one of them on the way down.
Legos on all your floor!
Hell yeah.
But if you would be so inclined, you can join my Patreon there at Silver Kestrel Studios. And on the 1st of next month, we will be publishing the core rules of our D20 roleplay system that has been in development over the past, 4 years, I guess. I refined and created a much more simplified roleplay system that is modular and meant to be built upon as a foundation that comes from a place of complete abandonment of entitlement to the space, unlike 5th edition. I do not like Wizards of the Coast. I do not like their predatory monetary bullshit that they're starting to implement, and so this is my own personal attempt to create a true free and baseline roleplay system that will never be permitted to become somebody's cash cow. So, if you guys want to support that and you want to help me just pay for some expenses related to art and publication, those core rules will become free on the Patreon for anybody to grab, and will be out there in the world eventually for free as well. And then any further campaigns that we create in the system under the studio will all be available for you as a patron for $5. Nobody will have the opportunity to pay more money outside of just making donations on the Patreon. We don't really care about creating different support tiers. I've become exhausted by Patreon if you have to approach it in that sense anyways, so all you gotta do if you want to join is just sign up to the Patreon for $5 a month. You'll get access to our behind-the-scenes development stuff and publications as we release them. There'll be tables on there as well, like the Goblin Bullshit Pool table, the Wrath table that I use for Warhammer Wrath and Glory, all of that shit. So if you guys are interested in supporting us and helping make sure that that money goes in towards all the creative projects that my studio is associated with, we really appreciate that, because that's the best way to ensure that we continue to create all kinds of awesome roleplay content, especially because there's VR roleplay shit that I'm very heavily involved in now as well. So the more sources of income and resources that we have available, the better I can make those spaces be. So,
which we should absolutely congratulate on Silver taking on the role of caretaker for Aether Chronicles. Hello,
Good
for
job,
talking about
Nerd.
Nerd. Yeah, round of applause.
Nerd!
Let's go.
Thank you. Yes, I have assumed the role of one of the, I suppose, head administrators for the Aether Chronicles VR roleplay, which basically just means that I'm willing to do a lot more admin shit and isn't anything too super special, so I appreciate being appointed into the position and having the opportunity to help coordinate the space, but it's not... I only do this shit because I want to make the world better for everybody else, so I appreciate the support anybody can give me in return to make sure that that's something I continue to do. So, thank you all so much, and thank you all to my players, wonderful, wonderful goblins. Effie, do you want to find us a raid target while we do the traditional check-in?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that right now.
Nelu, next weekend is literally Christmas, so I don't think we will be able to do goblins unless everybody here actually wants to or isn't busy, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be gone, Ash, yeah?
Actually, I'm going to be cracking down on FT model since I got upgraded to model maker during that time frame.
Next Sunday is the
Oh.
25th. It's literally
Uh-huh.
Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Baron's working Christmas.
Oh, all right. Well, then maybe we will do it. I don't know. Let me check it. Well, hey, actually, we can solve this problem right now. Jasmine, did you have any particular plans for the 25th?
Nope.
All right. Honey, did you have any particular plans?
Yeah, I planned on doing a Goblins episode that was super cool and Christmas themed.
Effie, did you have any other plans other than doing Christmas Goblin session?
Yeah, I was gonna beat the shit out of Santa.
Quick, kill him!
Alright, so because all the shenanigans I'll be doing with my family will be much earlier in the day, then it looks like we're doing an on-Christmas, Goblins-themed Christmas session next week, so... If you guys are able to make it and tune in and watch it, we appreciate that, but otherwise we'll have it uploaded to YouTube and then you will be able to watch it as well. So yeah, next Sunday we'll be doing it in the evening. So hell yeah, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Well, looks like I gotta plan some Christmas shenanigans for Sandpoint.
Don't you mean Santa Point?
There.
I left the call. If you're wondering why they disappeared like that.
Oh. That
Anyways.
was the Titus laugh, though. You're right.
That was the Titus laugh. Holy shit. Oh man. If I ever have Titus Scarnetti laugh, he's gonna have to emulate that laugh from Final Fantasy. Christmas with Dad Shetty? Oh, it's gonna be Christmas with a lot of people at Sandpoint. These goblins have put in so much time and effort to establish a community in this space that it brings a tear to my fucking eye. I thought, when we started this campaign so many weeks ago, I thought that it was just gonna be like a, haha, fuck the humans, goblins murder festival, and I was totally okay with that. And there was gonna be like, siege mechanics and all kinds of global conquest shit, and then they were like, we love these. It was Dentist Denise. I blame Denise. She changed the entire tone of the whole fucking thing. And suddenly it was
yeah, she did.
The goblins.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, the goblins love this town and they want to protect the people in it and they want to find the best solution that works for everybody. And I'm like, I will 100% build this narrative because goddamn, I love it so much. We have had no end of beautiful interpersonal connections on this campaign, and honestly, looking back on some of the experiences, just because it's been a goofy, trolly experience in places doesn't mean there hasn't also been sincere, amazing emotional moments that I will treasure always. So, thank you. But Desi, while you look for that person, hey Dixie.
I already got one. Sorry, Blurp
Okay.
scared the shit out of me.
No worries. Honey, how did you enjoy your Dixie session today?
I had fun today. I made a joke earlier, and nobody said anything about it, and I thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the goddamn world. I'm just like fucking Perry the Platypus. I'm running around like I'm there at the beginning of the episode and they see me and then I just fucking disappear off to random B-plot shit like, oh, it's a goblin. And I put on Frank and it's like, ah, it's Dixie the Goblin. And I thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the entire goddamn world. I was laughing really hard about it.
I love it.
My point is I'm having a lot of fun. I love the shit that I get to do with everyone. I love that I'm also sort of providing a little bit of a B plot side story that's going on. I love that whatever the fuck is going
God,
on
Peter.
is always so much goddamn fun. You guys are all fucking great. I fucking love you guys. Doing this every single week is super enjoyable. I'm glad that I was able to actually stay properly awake for this one. I'm sorry that I've been kind of fucking dead lately. Like since moving, my sleep schedule got a little fucked up, but I'm liking exploring Dixie's character, and I'm liking just having fun, frankly, with all my friends. So it's just a great time.
I agree.
Wait, you have friends?
Oh, it's fine. I'll move out.
Speaking of this uppity little fuck, Newt, Jasmine, did you enjoy today's session?
Yes. I always have a blast and I was super excited for Goblinz tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad it lined up that we were all able to finally get back into the action, even though I know at least 3 of us are like suffering from our bodies not wanting to celebrate existence currently.
The
Yeah,
gnomes are so evil.
I felt very sick this morning, and so I was kind of hoping it would subside some, and it did. So a little bit. So I was happy that I was able to play.
Any preferred highlights from the evening session?
I honestly, there's just too much good shit that happened that I couldn't even. I don't even think I could pick out any like one moment. I feel
It's a fantastic episode.
there was like heartfelt moments. There was this very comedic moments. Just driving this poor man crazy was funny.
I actually really like him.
Yeah, El Sari, he's he's a good
It's nice to see Dixie having might actually have like, maybe be a good person arc happening, which is exciting.
No. Whoa! Slow down.
I said maybe.
That's fair. What about you, Ash? Did you enjoy the evening session?
I always enjoy the Goblin session. It makes me really happy. I'm glad that I was able to rest up enough to actually enjoy tonight. I was super worried that I was still going to feel like Garbo before Goblinz, and I was just like, I don't want to cancel. I'm going to feel so awful doing so. I'm so glad I started feeling really a lot better and stuff, so I'm glad I could be here. It's one of my looking points at the start of my week, because I count Sundays as my start of the week.
Hell yeah. I agree. I think my favorite part of the week is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, honestly.
Heck yeah.
And I'm glad that even though your internal organs are currently in open warfare, I appreciate you being here, Ash, and I always appreciate the hard work you put into your creative endeavors, and you are a treasure, and thank you so much.
Oh, don't make me cry. I'm very emotional right now.
You know what? That's fair. You're all treasures. I love each and every one of you very much. You are lights in my life that I could not do without, and I think that despite how shitty this year has been in spots, each and every one of you four have been some of the brightest points in my life in total. So.
No.
And Effie, did you have a good time despite your throat attacking you?
I had a great time. I feel a little bad because like in the later half of it, I kind of felt like I needed to not talk as much. But I was laughing so fucking hard. There was just such good moments and everything, and I always love Goblinz.
Good. I'm glad. All right. Well, with all that said and done, I enjoyed that, and thank you for letting me role play out a teachable moment, because I was actually quite enjoying that.
Aww.
So I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
But why don't you go ahead and deliver us to who we're going to rate, Effie, and we'll say goodnight to these lovely... Oh, we're going to go to Orchid, okay.
Yeah, Orchid's doing a Toys for Tots thing, and even if you
Aw.
don't donate, like if you just lurk, that helps her in the algorithm. So, you know, I figured since it's Christmas, and that was a pretty good thing. Hi, Angle.
Hell yeah. All right, well then let's go give Unknown Orchid our love. I'll spare you your voice and just say everything else for you, Effie.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining us here today. A reminder that it is going to be the holidays over the next 2 weeks, so make sure that you temper your expectations of online content creators as we all take kind of breaks where we can get it, but a lot of us will still be charging forwards. But thanks again, and we will be back tomorrow or next Sunday with more goblins. We'll be doing a Christmas goblin session. Otherwise, just make sure you tune in throughout the week to each and every one of our wonderful channels, because we're all going to be doing all kinds of crazy shit. So it would be very kind of you to engage with all of our content and to see the kinds of things we get up to. And outside of that, thank you all for being here tonight. We love and appreciate you. And we will see you all soon. Goblins, say goodnight.
Goblins,
Good
good
night.
night.